Sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Best Thursday of the year's coming up, and it's all about NFL opening night football. It's back, baby.
Touchdown, Kansas City! Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Pat Mahomes is going to dump a 5-gallon can of gas on their head and light them, and then throw them in a dumpster.
There is more Bills-Jets fodder to chew on.
Mike Danger.
We're going to have Survive in Advance. Yeah. We're going to have to make our bold predictions. We do that on Thursday.
Yeah. Gene Battaglia.
My week one spotlight game, here we are, and let me be the first to pick it. The Bills and Jets. And let me be the first to say it. The Buffalo Bills are not going to win this game.
You're too much.
I love Clemson this year. I really do.
Some people have weird wastes for Clemson football. Last night at Duke, it was a weird game.
Honestly, all my years of football, I've never been a part of a game like that, ever.
It's a great night to be a Tiger.
Loser.
But we begin with those Colorado Buffaloes because it's still the story of the college football world.
Touchdown! Touchdown, Colorado! You believe that? Do you believe that? Huh? Do you believe? You don't believe. You just answered it. You don't believe.
Are you not entertained?
Spain's Soccer Federation fired women's national team coach Jorge Vilda today and promised a complete restructuring.
Yes, let's talk about baseball. What would you like to talk about?
Hockey. Give us hockey now.
Buy or sell, you still feel that Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz will play each other in the U.S. Open Finals.
Bye.
Mikal Bridges scored 24 to lead the USA men's basketball to that 163 rout of Italy in the FIBA World Cup quarterfinals. Up next is Germany or Latvia on Friday.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Something's amiss. Something's just off.
You hadn't heard about this
sports
yet?
bar. No, I did, but you know how when you get into a routine and you need your workspace needs to be like a certain way. If it's not, you know, I don't know if you're like me, where you're a little OCD. Like when things are out of place, when things don't feel right, you're kind of like something's off. And for me today, coming into the sports bar after a long weekend, hope you all had a great long weekend. Looking up at our monitor here in the studio, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. We usually have ESPN on in the back. It's gone. It's off of Spectrum. It's not there.
I like, and they put up we offered Disney a fair deal, and wait, it's.
No, I'm not going to get into who's right, who's wrong. Business is business, and you've got Disney, doing everything they can to make Charter look like the bad guy. And for what it's worth, you've got Charter saying things like, reports that they don't want to be in the video business, that they're going to be content with just selling broadband to customers when it's all said and done, and actually driving people to other outlets where you can find that programming. Like, do you care that your customer base is eroding? You're going to lose a lot of customers if you haven't already. I mean, for that to happen the weekend of college football's week one, for it to happen with Monday Night Football coming up on Monday night this week one of the NFL getting away, like the timing couldn't be worse. So,
well, in fairness, so this Monday night it will be on 13.
Well,
so you
more
will
importantly, it'll be right here on the Fan. So if you're a disgruntled, video watcher, you want to hear the game in all its glory, we'll have that for you as well. But yes, 13 will carry it locally, so it's not a complete loss. And if you're panicking, wondering if you're going to be able to watch the Bills, you'll be able to watch the Bills.
No, but I couldn't live without Monday Night Football. After, for all the other guys, you got to have it. It's one of those got to haves, and at least in this kind of Wild West. Like, if you were a Yankee fan, that was kind of your go-to. Well, guess what? Fubo doesn't have yes, and YouTube does not have yes. So if you're a Yankee fan who wants ESPN and yes, oh my gosh, welcome to subscribing to multiple platforms.
Yeah, the thing that makes me giddy when I think about it, like for years and years and years back in the day, we used to complain, we've got over 100 channels, we can't watch them all, there's too many channels, I'm paying for all these channels that I don't watch. If only we had a way to make it a la carte. And now we have a way to make it a la carte, and it's still not It's still not perfect.
It's worse than ever.
It'll never be perfect. We'll never be fully satisfied. Well, all that being said, we welcome you back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Appreciate you listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free-to-download Odyssey app on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. And our stream up for you to watch the Sports Bar at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and on Twitch. We are back after a long holiday weekend and ready to get after it. It is week 1 of the NFL football season. We've got a lot to recap from this weekend, week 1 of the college football season. We're going to talk some fantasy football later this afternoon as you may be doing your last-minute drafting here in the next 24 to 48 hours. Joining us at 4:25 from Win Daily Sports, our fantasy Goomba, Tony Cotillo, is going to stop by.
Yeah, and we have this breaking news in the Sports Bar here, Dane.
Breaking news in the Sports Bar.
Ow. 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
So, not at practice today, having to leave practice actually, was Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce. It's a hyperextended knee.
Uh-oh.
He's going to be a question mark. Now, reportedly, he was able to kind of limp off the field. But those actually were the words of Sky Moore describing it. He limped off the field. So a lot of injury fog concerning the Kansas City Chiefs. And look, if there is some concern here, like we'll watch the betting line. He is like the rare player in the NFL that I would think, if you're not a quarterback, usually it doesn't move the line, but we'll see.
All touchdown, anytime touchdown props were pulled from FanDuel when I checked after this news. Because, hearing the news that Kelce might not go makes me a lot more interested in a guy like Isaiah Pacheco to score an anytime touchdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those lines are all down.
So they are all right.
They're already down. Like as soon as that news, that's going to send a shockwave across that game.
That sucks. So this is like the one game where like, all right, everybody just kind of relax, watch, put a little money on. I'm sure that there'll be other ways to do it. But we'll talk to our buddy Tony Cotillo, Win Daily. He'll be appearing periodically and mainly on Tuesdays when we get rolling in. Why? Well, that's the day when actually you got to, use the waiver wire. So we're not at that point yet, but we'll get you set up for those who are drafting, including us tonight.
Yes, we do have a very important Radio Geeks League draft tonight with all of our coworkers here. This is, I would say that this is my second favorite fantasy football league that I'm in because it's the only league that I'm in that employs the super flex option, which is a fun little wrinkle to the game where you can start a quarterback in your flex position.
Which pretty much everybody does, and I think it's more realistic in this sense. Sure, you don't play 2 quarterbacks in football, but my point is it actually puts major emphasis on the quarterback position because, well, do you want to end up with Derek Carr and who else you might have, Tua as your quarterbacks? No, you want to make an investment. Yeah, that's a whole different strategy. What is your favorite? Is it the guillotine or?
I'm loyal to my longest running league, as I think a lot of people would be. Like that league is always fun to me. That employs an IDP. You have an individual defensive player, which I always think is fun. It's scored just a little bit different than your standard traditional leagues. Neighborhood league is fun, like the guys. That's a 10-team league, so it's a little bit different. The guillotine league, which we were in a draft on Sunday night for the guillotine. I mean, the draft for the guillotine is unlike anything. We were just talking to Dan DeLorean and Max before we jumped on the air. You scooped my guy on Sunday. Don't think I didn't notice that you scooped my guy. I was.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He was there. Oh, he was right there. I was waiting for him. He was on my board. I had him targeted. You know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about a 6'3", 200-pound bulldog wideout with acrobatic abilities and flypaper for fingers. You got George Pickens in the unsanctioned. I wasn't happy about that.
I think if you were just one to, all right, what is CBS, what's ESPN, what's Yahoo, where are they ranking George Pickens? I swear to you, they're all too low. I mean, I reached a little bit
He's undervalued.
for him. Yeah, I think, honestly, 3rd round in a guillotine
There's
league,
a lot. I mean, you could find a lot of those. Maybe we'll talk to Tony about that later. We'll talk about players that maybe are undervalued that you can pick up late and could actually end up being big-time producers for you on your fantasy team. So Tony Cotillo of Win Daily Sports joins us at 4:25. And even though it's a Tuesday that feels like a Monday, it's still a Tuesday, and that means Matt Perino comes in to talk to Buffalo Bills from the Syracuse Post-Standard, NewYorkUpstate.com, the Shout podcast. Love our Bills chats with Perino every Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, so since we last talked to Matt, we actually had the cuts on that day, and then we had a practice squad, and that's an interesting name. Christian Kirksey is on that practice squad. So he spoke last week. Matt Perino was there. I'm just curious, like, how much rope are they actually going to give Dotson and or Bernard? Kirksey, perhaps that break glass in case of emergency. That'll be one of the topics. As tomorrow, everybody will be back. Tomorrow, we will have our first edition of McDermott's McLies. That'll be coming up. Yeah. Oh, God. Although, when you're saying things about the Jets, are we really going to be? Is he going to be lying?
No, I don't. I'd say that the lies will be at a minimum tomorrow. Wait until week 2 against the Raiders, and then we'll see some real rich McDermott McLies. A couple of restructures from the Buffalo Bills today. One, Ryan Bates and Taron Johnson both getting their deals restructured to create some cap space for the team here as they enter the 2023 season. So Matt Perino will be joining us here right around 3:25. Another 15-20 minutes or so. We'll talk some more Buffalo Bills here in the Sports Bar. You can join us anytime at 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
The most important segment coming up at 4 o'clock.
I forgot. Gene, my apologies. Yeah. You're right. Today marks the first of hopefully many weeks where Gene will regale us with his Survive and Advance football pick of week 1.
Are you with me, or are you secretly rooting against me this year?
No, I'm going, as we've done this year after year after year, I think 95% of the time I've been with you. I maybe like one pick. Last year, I think I went in a different direction week 1 than you did.
So I don't know. I believe you don't know where I'm going with today at 4 o'clock, because this is one of those weeks where you have a few options, and we're just kind of going by the rules here.
It's a couple of options. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I know which direction you're going because we've been talking about it a lot. Since the schedule came out, there was one game that we had circled.
I think I might have said it in in May. I was like, I'm going to make the pick
unless
right now.
You're hedging, which case that would make you a loser because one of your rules, of course, is that hedgers are losers.
Oh, and savers are losers. Too.
Savers are losers as well. You don't want to look ahead and strategize to think, well, if I don't take this team this week, I can take them later. No, you're trying to survive week by week. So we'll get to Gino's Survive and Advance pick coming up here right around 4 o'clock as well. And as I mentioned, 866-4FAN is the number to call if you want to pull up a stool and join us here in the Sports Bar. Gino, I don't know how you feel, but man, I am dragging ass today.
What?
The long weekend, a productive weekend, but one of those days yesterday where, it got hot and, we're floating in the pool at my brother-in-law's house. And it's just a reminder, can't hang the way I used to hang.
No.
Can't run the way I used to run.
I'm sorry. Like, you get the world's smallest violin here, so to speak.
Oh, yeah, because you're such a responsible
14
adult.
hours going to Marietta and back. So let me tell you about Marietta, Ohio and West Virginia, buddy. That's the cradle of football.
You survived.
Yeah, 31. It was not close.
You survived. You had that on Saturday. Absolute hero, calling St. John Fisher football and making the long commute to do so. And yesterday, I mean, again, not to be a hero or anything, but I'm the youngest of the 3 brother-in-laws in my family. So I feel like I'm the one that has to set the pace. I have to set a tone. And I set that tone on Sunday night. I'm like, guys, we're getting together on Monday. It's going to be 85 degrees. The pool's going to be on, and I'm going to get hammered. I'm just going to tell you right now.
Oh.
I'm setting a tone.
Well.
We did.
Well, did you conceal this time? Because I think the last story, correct me if I'm wrong, you got called out for having a certain
we got
number,
called out by my sister-in-law. Somebody was trying to talk to us, and I think she just looked at that person like, why are you talking to them? They're hammered. Because all of the empties were kind of like strewn all over the place. And you were in my brain, Gino. Pitch count was on my mind.
Pitch count was on my mind. We
employed my nephew, I want to say. It was either my nephew or my daughter. I can't really remember. But at one point, we're like, hey, do us a favor. Go throw all these in the recycle bin over there. And they did. So the pitch count went from, whoa, what are these guys doing to, oh, they're not too bad. We're okay.
Yeah. And barring that, you could have gone with a box of wine there,
Not
too.
in the pool. Not in the pool. Just not working for me. Box wine, you've got me that far. Drinking wine in the pool, not for me. Not happening.
Have you ever tried it?
Have you drink wine in the pool?
Oh, you go to the beach, executive producer and I enjoying a nice box there.
On the beach, I could concede the beach. I can't concede the pool. I'll give you the beach. I'm not drinking wine in the pool. If you're poolside, I could see drinking wine. In the pool, physically in the pool.
No. That's probably not smart with glass.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I was floating, drinking beers in the pool.
Floating. Okay,
yes.
literally,
not poolside, in the pool.
In the pool
yes.
on some sort of floaty device.
Yes.
And
throwing the football around the pool, running patterns, doing the whole thing. Like that was. Wine in the pool, not happening. Is that what you're talking about? Yes, you're talking about poolside.
Yeah, well, I'll get you one of those plastic tumblers. That's, the way.
Again, you have to conceal everything. Gene's drinking his wine out of a sippy cup because you don't know how much wine is in the sippy cup.
Dude, I was on the air one time with a guy who actually did that, like in a coffee mug, and then I smelled it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's got a real issue. Like, or maybe to calm the nerves or whatever.
Was his name Mike Danger?
No, you don't conceal. Like, you're just like, if you're out at one of our 3-head events, you're like, wow, these guys actually do. That's the sports bar.
Well, usually when I'm taking a pull off of whatever drink I've got in the studio, container I've got in the studio, it's clear and you can kind of see. On occasion, you might see me drinking something out of a more concealed container. And I will not reveal what is inside said concealed container. But whatever you do, don't take a whiff of what's inside that concealed container. So fun weekend. Hope you enjoyed your sports weekend, man. I think week 1 of college football is my most favorite week of college football. I know that it intensifies as the season goes on, and there'll be games that we circle and highlight and be like, "Ooh, that's gonna Alabama, Texas this upcoming weekend is going to be a good game, right?" But man, for week 1, just to see how it all plays out in week 1, the Colorado story is fantastic. Give me all the Deion Sanders footage you want to give me. I think he, has the potential to be the story of the college football season if this continues, and they'll get the win against Nebraska. I mean, what's going to stand in the way of Coach Prime being in the conversation?
Matt Rule. Oh, Matt Rule. Ooh,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, he's going to squash these guys. Yeah. Like everything about the Colorado Buffaloes, I'm in. I am in on Deion Sanders post game
because it's not about them. This is about us. This has nothing to do with the team that's opposing us. This is about us. This ain't got nothing to do with the naysayers, the unbelievers, the haters, the doubters. This is about us. When we started this journey, we told you it was going to be trying, it was going to be tough, but you endured because it's about us. That man next to you is a miracle. That man next to you is a believer. That man next to you is a go-getter. That man next to you is a dog. That man next to you is somebody who wants this thing. That man next to you is somebody who believes. That man next to you is somebody that got to have it today. We ain't got tomorrow. We got now. We ain't got next. We got now. We ain't coming no more. We here. Since y'all know we here, give me my theme music.
All right, so riddle me this. Nebraska, Colorado, the line is Colorado -3. Huh?
Well, look.
I would think like people would be rushing to go bet the Buffaloes right now.
I can't get enough of that. I love that. Now, I'm sure that there are college coaches who deliver a better pregame speech than what we just heard. We just never get that kind of access. We never get to hear it. But that is fantastic, and we're going to get more of it through the course of the season because with Deion comes all the glitz and all the glam and all the cameras, and everything is documented. Everybody's following him all the time, and I can't get enough of it. I think it's fantastic. Man, I would love nothing more than for him to be in the conversation when it's college football playoff time, and then we're talking about the Buffaloes being in the college football playoff. Like, I know it's week 1. I don't want to overreact to a nice win against TCU. By the way, once again, kind of like expose themselves as frauds. Like, they didn't belong in the national championship last year, and they didn't belong in this game against Colorado.
Oh, can we talk about frauds?
We sure can.
Oh, boy. Not only did they get throttled last night, and yes, okay, Duke might be okay. Duke might not be the old Duke football, but that's Duke's first top 10 win since 1989. What stood out to me was actually Sweeney's comments after calling this the weirdest game he's ever been involved with, like it was some sort of fluke. That's major loser energy. 4 red zone trips, 0 points, 2 blocked field goals. You did not have your team prepared, Dabo. And this isn't the old ACC, Dabo. Funny how when you don't have a quarterback, things kind of erode here for Clemson. So, sure, and that's not the only problem I saw last night, but that was interesting. That was compelling and good for Duke football.
And not the only fraud, by the way, if you're going to talk about the ACC. There was another team that kind of emerged from the ACC that now looks to be head and shoulders over every other team in the ACC. Quite simply, in the second half of that LSU-Florida State matchup, LSU just folded.
It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family.
And that fraud in the second half of that game, he looked uninterested, disengaged, bored. He looked out of it. You're the head coach of LSU football, Brian Kelly. Your guys didn't show up. What happened at halftime? Because they quit in that second half. They were terrible in that second half. He's going to lose his job.
Wow. Isn't it what makes college football great? Like, you're talking about LSU, not just you, lots of people. Like, that's a team that may be a national championship. Now, all of a sudden, you can't afford an out-of-conference. There's only one downside to this game, Danger, and I love seeing Brian Kelly because he gave a middle finger to Notre Dame. But before that, at Cincinnati, he gave them the middle finger too. So that's a guy that's always been about himself. Oh, by the way, a kid died on his watch when he shouldn't have been up on scaffolding. Don't forget that. No, the downside to this game is Florida State Booster. Mr. Booster now is all going to be emboldened, thinking, that's the best conference. We need to be in the SEC. Look what we just did. Yeah. Okay, well, good for you. You won that game, and now we're going to have to deal with Florida State and the rankings and everything else. And, they've got this clear path now, actually, I would say, to the national championship. It's theirs to lose, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I'll take Florida State over Clemson. I mean, like I prefer it be Florida because I'm like a lot of people. Dale Sweeney is just that guy. I don't wish anything on that guy in terms of a win. Like, I don't want wins out of Clemson. I'm good with Clemson losing the way they lost to Duke. I love the loser energy around that program right now. I prefer Florida State this season. I'll prefer Florida State in the ACC this season. Syracuse did what you expected Syracuse to do. We don't have to spend a lot of time talking about what they did to Colgate. Let's get to Matt Perino and talks about Buffalo Bills football next in the Sports Bar. You can read his work at NewYorkUpstate.com, Syracuse Post-Standard. You can hear Matt Perino with Ryan Talbot on the Shout podcast. We'll talk some Bills football as we prepare for Week 1 in the NFL. Monday Night Football between the Bills and the Jets, now less than a week away. Matt Perino next in the Sports Bar on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
update.
Buffalo Bills get back to work tomorrow. In advance of that, today, Ryan Bates and Taron Johnson restructuring their contracts, freeing up some cap space. We're 6 days away from the season opener. Dan Orlovsky on what should be a crazy atmosphere next week.
It'll be the biggest home game for the Jets, certainly in years and maybe, decades. And they're playing against a team that for the last, 3 years has been one of the teams to beat in the conference, that has one of the best quarterbacks in football, that has Super Bowl expectations. That place will be nuts.
We'll talk some Bills football coming up next. Matt Perino, the Syracuse Post-Standard and the Shout podcast, will be joining us next. Today from Kansas City Chiefs practice, tight end Travis Kelce leaving with a hyperextended knee, leaving his status in question for Thursday night's opener. The Red Wings releasing the 24 schedule. They open March 29th in Syracuse. Gene Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
They cleared the cap space they needed, so they're under. So they can absorb injuries and guys up and down off the roster and all of that. So
Well, yeah, I mean-
you gotta have some slack.
Yeah, they may need even a little more than that. I mean, that's not enough to get you through a season. So they might have to do a little bit more.
They probably got a short list of players they can go to and say, hey, what about it?
There's Chris Brown and Steve Tasker earlier on One Bills Live talking about the restructures of Ryan Bates and Taron Johnson. Let's talk some Buffalo Bills with our buddy Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard, the Shout podcast as well. Matt, let's start with those restructures before we see the guys back on the practice field tomorrow. You've got a little bit of cap space now if you're Brandon Beane heading into the season. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. These kinds of moves at the beginning of the season, operational, right, for Brandon Beane, who mentioned a couple weeks ago when we talked to him that this probably would happen to free some stuff up as the Bills continue to kind of keep space open in case anything pops up over the course of the season. I don't think it's worth overreacting too much. I know people see, restructures and cap space and start dreaming big dreams, but I don't know if there's any big dreams left at this stage.
Yeah, see what happens. One thing that since our last conversation, Matt, that happened, well, the Bills had their cuts, and then they brought in their practice squad. An interesting name, Christian Kirksey, who started at middle linebacker, has a lot of, for Houston last year, a lot of experience in this league, Browns and drafted by the Packers. And he spoke after arriving in Buffalo. What is your sense here? Is this somebody that at some point will be elevated from the practice squad?
I mean, potentially. How fast it happens, I mean, it's anybody's guess. Micah Hyde talking after practice last week, seems to think this is not going to take very long for him to get up to speed. Now, calling the defense is something that complicates things a little bit because although he played in a similar scheme and style of defense in Cleveland under Al Holcomb and Steve Wilkes there, who were with Sean McDermott in Carolina, probably different terminology and might take a little time, but Kirksey doesn't seem to think it'll take that much time. And the thing here that's interesting is this isn't a veteran coming in with an established person ahead of him. If anything, there's just question marks ahead of him. I mean, Tyrel Dodson, I think has already kind of been moved back after a disappointing preseason where he had all this opportunity, and it seems to be trending towards Terrell Bernard, maybe getting a chance to see what it looks like with him at the middle linebacker spot to start the season after missing the preseason. So I don't know, maybe it's a emergency type situation, a veteran that has played in a defense similar to this, and you'll kind of get to see how much he has left if things go poorly with Bernard and or Dotson. But yes, still not a lot of answers to that position.
Remind me, Matt, because you brought up his name, Micah Hyde and Kirksey. They played together when they were in Green Bay?
Iowa.
Oh, they played together in Iowa. Okay.
Together. Yep, they're very good friends. And then Kirksey played with Poyer in Cleveland. So the two of them have been trying to recruit him here for years. And Brandon Beane mentioned it. This is something that they've tried to do. When he opted to go to Green Bay, I believe in 21, there was, a lot of energy behind him potentially coming here. He decided to go what I think was more money. And he said things happen the way that they do, and usually it's for a reason, and he's here at the right place at the right time. Now, we'll see. He obviously has had a hamstring issue this off season into the summer, but he played a lot of football for Houston last year, had a lot of tackles, seemed to be pretty productive. So we'll see where this thing goes.
Yeah, one more question on the whole, because you realize, like, you're going against Aaron Rodgers. He's going to want to, test out whoever's at middle linebacker. And I'm just wondering if it actually is going to be Bernard. So where is his health at right now? And it would be crazy to think that maybe Sean McDermott by default is actually going to throw him out there opening night.
I think he is back to pretty close to full health. He practiced in full, I believe, last week, based on, again, talking to him after practice the one day. So we'll see. And, like, during the individual portion of practice, he was over to the side working with, Matt Milano and the safeties, usually where you'd see Tremaine Edmonds in years past. And that's the only portion of practice now that we're able to see. Now, I don't know if that means he worked with the, first-team defense in practice. We don't know. That's going to be a question all the way up until kickoff, or maybe a little bit beforehand when they go through warm-ups. But I think, listen, let's not mince words. Tyrell Dodson wasn't very good in the preseason. He had an opportunity. Sean McDermott, every time he was asked about him, the first thing that he mentioned is his command of the huddle and so on and so forth. Not a lot about his play, after the snap. So I think giving a chance to Terrell Bernard, a guy that you drafted in the third round, had this year to download the system, and just see what it looks like early on with a veteran like Kirksey kind of in the background, and then Dotson, who knows the scheme if you have to put him in that situation.
I was looking at the official depth chart that the team released, and they do have Ryan Bates listed as their starting right guard, the first team right guard. We saw the restructure today. Do you think that's accurate, or do you think they're going to have Torrance out there on Monday night, Matt?
I don't know. That could be a little bit of a
gamesmanship,
and we'll see how that materializes. I would be stunned if Ryan Bates starts over Osiris Torrance after what we saw this summer. Now, Brandon Beane, I asked him specifically about the position battles, and he wanted to leave that for Sean McDermott to say whether or not they've been determined. We'll get a chance to talk to him tomorrow, so we'll get maybe an update there. But I'd imagine that they run this thing all the way up to Monday night. Why give the Jets a chance to prepare? Although, again, I've never coached. I just cover the sport for a living. I don't know what the big advantage is from a defensive line perspective, preparing for Torrance compared to Bates. I mean, there must be some type of advantage to why Sean McDermott doesn't want to make that known. But Torrance, to me, did everything to win his job. And they've been, for as much as they haven't allowed Kyer Elam to kind of just learn as you go type of situation, they have been willing to do that on the offensive line. Like Spencer Brown has been, for better or worse, just left out there to kind of go through it all. And so I think Torrance is the guy coming in with the kind of, how highly people thought of him coming out of the draft. I say put him out there and see what it looks like.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, also the Shout podcast, and also you can get daily text updates, or maybe not daily, but we'll tell you here about how you can go about that in a little bit. Matt, as far as the final 53, were there any surprises in your opinion on what the Bills arrived at here? And I guess for those that want to criticize the Bills, player personnel department, but it's kind of a feather in the cap of any player personnel department if you have 3 cuts that actually get claimed off of waivers.
Right. And so I don't think there was any surprises. As a matter of fact, it pretty much played out almost exactly like my 53-man projection had established, outside of, I think I had him cutting Kyle Allen instead of Reed Ferguson, one of the, wait in the parking lot deals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was not surprised at all to see how it all played out. But Ryan Vandermark outplayed David Quessenberry. And I think the only reason I had Quessenberry on the 53, and I explained this in my story, was because I thought they were going to keep him and then try to find a tackle on the other side of the cut down and then eventually release him. Well, they found Jermaine Ifedi beforehand. That allowed them to kind of open the door to moving on from Quessenberry, who, again, like just a player that they've kind of waited and given him a ton of opportunity, and it just wasn't at the level that they needed it to be at. I mean, Kingsley Jonathan, I had him in a 53-man projection in June. This is a guy that's been trending in this direction for a long time, and I think it's why it put that, those second-round draft picks under a microscope this summer, because they had a guy that they knew if they released Kingsley Jonathan, he was going to be claimed on waivers, just like, Nick Broker and Alex Austin and Zane Anderson. It would have been Kingsley Jonathan would have been the fourth. And this is a guy that he's different than some of these other players because, they drafted Boogie and A.J. Epinesa and tried to have them change their body a little bit. And I think Jonathan is who he was in college. He is this explosive, twitchy, bendy kind of pass rusher that they just, outside of Vaughn, don't really have. I mean, you could probably throw Leonard Floyd into that mix now, but in terms of the young guys. And so I think that they really like him, and I wasn't surprised by it. I think some other fans were. And then A.J. Klein, a guy that played a lot of snaps for them in the summer. It wasn't good. The more time and action he saw, like in first-team reps, the more I think it became clear to them that they needed to go in a different direction. And that's what it was with Kirksey, and when he became available, it just made sense. And I don't know, how many more times did A.J. Klein want to just go through a season on the practice squad? We'll see what happens. Never say never, but maybe he ends up calling it a career. We'll see.
Well, let's talk about that practice squad a little bit there. Any names worth monitoring? I see Ty Johnson, a guy that was signed late in camp, kind of hanging around and ending up on that practice squad. We talked plenty of Andy Isabella, but the one that I think a lot of fans are going to be curious about is a new quarterback to the Bills practice squad. Matt, what do we know about Shane Buechele?
Yeah, a man of very few words. We got a chance to talk to him after practice last week, and he was just happy to be there, it seemed. After spending a little over a season in Kansas City, he goes from, backing up Patrick Mahomes or, third behind Patrick Mahomes to now with Josh Allen. So that's an interesting move. And, with Matt Barkley going on IR, they had to go out and find somebody. And there were a couple options that we had talked about. You saw the Patriots added Matt Corral, former third-round draft pick, maybe some other options out there that were interesting. But this is a guy that he's got a little juice. I mean, if you watch the one highlight clip that went a little viral for them in the preseason, the Chiefs, he had a really nice play, nice touchdown pass. But I thought the toughest cut at the 53-man roster cut down was Jamarcus Ingram. And little did I know that he was going to be able to make it through waivers and find his way back on the Bills practice squad. This is a guy that if they ever got to a place where they were willing to deal Kyer Elam, it would be because of course, their belief in Benford and Dane Jackson, but also that in a pinch, like if you start suffering some injuries there, you can just kind of go to a guy like Jamarcus Ingram that they're now year two in their system that they're really high on. Of course, I always got the UB bias for, Lewis and Ingram. I'm up front with that. But listen, they played their butts off, and they're really versatile pieces. And it was interesting to see Ingram, who was mostly boundary his rookie season, them really start to work him on the inside. And he can maybe even be a depth option with Taron Johnson and Saran nailed in there in the slot.
So when we're looking ahead now to the Jets, and we'll kind of stick on the secondary here because, well, you're going against Aaron Rodgers, and I don't know, man. My disclaimer: are we getting a motivated Aaron Rodgers who all of a sudden is going to turn the clock back here, or is it going to be like the guy was checking down constantly? I don't know that, but assuming he's going to take shots downfield, and assuming that he's going to try to find Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson is one of the best young receivers in this game. I think that's fair to say. Who gets that assignment? Will the Bills flip their corners? Would you feel comfortable if it was actually Christian Benford going up against Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, I think Benford's ultra competitive, and I think that's what we've seen from him all summer. He's been down to cover Stephon Diggs in practice, Gabe Davis. Like if he's got to line up against the one, he's going to be fine. He might lose some matchups. Any of these guys, Tre'Davious White might lose a couple matchups against Garrett Wilson. I mean, he's a special talent, but I think having a healthy Hyde and Poyer on that back end, how motivated they are to probably come out and make a statement, and just the energy that they're going to be bringing in. I mean, they're on borrowed time, right? Like this is a situation that at times last year Jordan and Micah probably couldn't envision again, right? Like with Jordan going into free agency, Micah's uncertainty at times with the neck injury, and now they get to go out and they just have this bonus time together. And so I think that's maybe an under-discussed part of this defense is how much that like safety blanket being back there again, like even if they've lost a half a step or a quarter step or even a step, just the familiarity and the understanding of the defense, like that's going to be interesting as Aaron Rodgers and that Jets offense try to figure some things out and maybe try to test them.
Matt, since the last time we spoke to you, they named team captains as well. And I think the one name that was a surprise, and I know we know how much it means to be named team captain. Gabe Davis was named a team captain, which is kind of interesting when you consider his contractual situation with the team. What's your takeaway from that?
Yeah, it's interesting because I really thought they were going to get an extension done with him. And to me, the captaincy is like, it's kind of an example. I know that the players vote on it and everything, but it is kind of an example of what he means in the room. And we do know that Brandon Beane has talked in the past about, you guys in the room, pay attention to who you pay and who you want to keep around long term. The problem is at that spot, it's a tricky business because you have this last year where the Jacoby Myers and Juju Smith-Schusters make around $11-12 million per year as the top free agents on the market. But a couple of years ago, you had Godwin getting 20 per year, Mike Williams getting 20 per year. I don't know if the Bills are willing to go to that length as much as they love Gabe Davis. And so it might be a situation where, all right, you ride through this year, see how it plays out. Everybody thought Matt Milano was going to be gone. He goes into his contract year, performs well, gets to the eve of free agency and just realizes he's going to take a little less to stay in Buffalo, and they end up doing another deal with him and giving him a little bit more a couple of years later. And there's still levers for Brandon Beane to pull and show kind of his track record of how he's taking care of his own in different ways. And maybe they're not in the right spot. Maybe they are. Maybe we'll get this week. That'll be a big news break, or maybe sometime in the first month of the season. You never say never, but I do still think that the Bills are going to try to keep him long term. It's just the numbers are going to have to add up.
Matt, we're still got some time here. We're still 6 days away, right, from the opener. But that being said, this will be the last time we talk. So I'm just curious to get your thoughts, like your early prognosis here. How do you see this game playing out Monday night down in New York?
I think the Bills have an advantage offensively against the Jets defense because the Jets defense was so dominant against the Bills and Josh Allen last year. And they went out and they have so many new pieces that I think the Jets are going to have to kind of flip through their head over and over again. Robert Saleh, their defensive coordinator, about how to deal with the different punches that I think the Bills offense can now throw. And then the Jets offense, they've had some success. Like, you're watching Aaron Rodgers for the 2 drives in the preseason game. Like, the one drive went really well, the other not so well. And how will they handle things if it's like a really frustrating half and, Josh Allen has a couple of touchdowns and they go up on them big and early? How does this team deal with it? They're talking already about like maybe being the best defense that's ever existed, comparing themselves to the 85 Bears. I mean, there's a lot of hubris. I was talking to Antoine Staley from the New York Daily News today on my podcast, and he was talking about like this is just a group that they're leaning into the expectations. They want all the smoke. They want all the pressure. That it's one thing to say that. It's another thing to live it, especially, on Monday Night Football in front of the country against what's been one of the best teams in the league the last couple of years. So we'll see what wins out. I think there's a lot of talent on both sides. I think it could be a fun game. I think it could go multiple ways. I think it could go another like defensive struggle on both sides, or it could be a fireworks show, and we could see like a big night from the quarterbacks. It's going to be fun, man. I can't wait. I'm going down Saturday. My wife's actually coming down with me on Sunday. We're going to go see Billy Joel on Sunday night, and then Monday night we're gonna cover the heck out of this football game.
I love it. So what's the rest of your week look like here? What can we expect out of you, Ryan, and everybody else there doing the work that you're doing here as the team gets ready for Monday night?
Yeah, we'll have almost daily podcasts to kind of get you through. We'll have coverage from One Bills Drive starting tomorrow. They really ratchet things up a bit. I'll have a couple stories. We'll have our season outlook game-by-game predictions that drops. And just to give you a little preview, I was on a podcast today, and I was asked for my one bold prediction. And I've not done this the last couple of years, but I am predicting the Bills go to the Super Bowl. Whoa. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it in this story that comes out later this year. I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of that early juice. Why not?
I like it.
Love it, Matt. And you're going to love Billy Joel, too. That's like one thing. Like, if you're going to like see Billy Joel, to see him at MSG, well, he's still doing this.
I know. That was the big kicker. We actually got the tickets. before he announced that he was in the final run. Because he's got like 3 or 4 shows left that he's doing, and then he's going to call it. And now the prices are just like absolutely skyrocketing. And we thought for a second, like, make a couple bucks.
Yeah.
It's a bucket list item. We had to do it.
Good, man. Enjoy your time. Enjoy the rest of the week and this weekend in the city. And we'll look forward to talking to you again next week.
All right, boys. Have a good one.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, NewYorkUpstate.com, The Shout podcast. Some great Buffalo Bills insight there as the team gets back to work tomorrow afternoon.
By the way, we will have Thursday our bold predictions coming up here.
I have a Buffalo Bills bold prediction as well.
We will be very bold with the Buffalo Bills.
All right, we've got I'll Drink to That. Speaking of takes on tap next in the sports bar.
Yeah, so kind of a leftover story from last week, but it deserves more conversation. Like the possibility, the flexibility of dissolving PSC and what this could mean. It doesn't mean the Sabres are for sale, but there is something that's very, very expensive going on in Buffalo right now.
Sure.
Who exactly is going to pay for that? In the week 1 matchup, Miami and the Chargers.
You know who I like.
Well, there's some trends here that are going to point you in the right direction of who to choose.
There's it's funny. You start to see with the college football season getting away, you start to see dominoes falling. And I'm going to share a handful of takes centered around one player and one NFL team. We'll get to that and more next with I'll Drink to That here in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia and the Fan. And Gino's also got Survive in Advance, his week 1 Survivor pick coming up. I've got to check the production here. I got to make sure that we have the right production. I don't know that we do, but we'll dive into that here, and Gino will give us his week 1 Survivor football pick. That's coming up next in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It's Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite WBF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
And so it begins week one, getting to work tomorrow for the Buffalo Bills, as today their last off day. Ryan Bates, Taron Johnson, in the meantime, restructuring their contracts today. Chris Brown and Steve Tasker on giving the Bills a buffer.
They cleared the cap space they needed, so they're under. So they can absorb injuries and guys up and down off the roster and all of that. So
well, yeah, I mean,
you gotta have some slack.
Yeah, they may need even a little more than that. I mean, that's not enough to get you through a season. So they might have to do a little bit more.
They probably got a short list of players they can go to and say, hey, what about it?
Bills and Jets will have the coverage Monday, beginning at 4 o'clock here on the Sports Leader. From Chiefs practice today, tight end Travis Kelce leaving with a hyper-extended knee, leaving his status in question for Thursday night's opener. The Red Wings 2024 schedule is out. Gene Battaglia, the Sports Leader. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Best Thursday of the year's coming up, and it's all about NFL opening night football. It's back, baby.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Pat Mahomes is going to dump a 5-gallon can of gas on their head and light them, and then throw them in a dumpster.
There is more Bills-Jets fodder to chew on.
Mike Danger.
We're going to have Survive in Advance. Yeah. We're going to have to make our bold predictions. We do that on Thursday.
Yeah.
Gene Battaglia.
My week one spotlight game, here we are, and let me be the first to pick it. The Bills and Jets. And let me be the first to say it. The Buffalo Bills are not going to win this game.
You're too much.
I love Clemson this year. I really do.
Some people have weird wastes for Clemson football. Last night at Duke, it was a weird game.
Honestly, all my years of football, I've never been a part of a game like that, ever.
It's a great night to be a Tiger.
Loser.
But we begin with those Colorado Buffaloes because still the story of the college football world.
Touchdown! Touchdown, Colorado!
You believe that? Do you believe that? Huh? Do you believe? You don't believe. You just answered it. You don't believe.
Or are you not entertained? Spain's Soccer Federation fired women's national team coach Jorge Vilda today and promised a complete restructuring.
Yes, let's talk about baseball. What would you like to talk about?
Hockey. Give us hockey now.
Buy or sell, you still feel that Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz will play each other in the U.S. Open Finals.
Buy. Mikal Bridges scored 24 to lead the USA men's basketball to that 163 rout of Italy in the FIBA World Cup quarterfinals. Up next is Germany or Latvia on Friday.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Gino's got his Survive in Advance Week 1 pick in just a few, and we'll talk more fantasy sports with Tony Cotillo, Win Daily Sports. He's joining us here in about 25 minutes or so. Welcome into the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. We appreciate you joining us at 95.7 FM, AM 950, The Fan Rochester, and the free-to-download Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch, and even on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. You can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line anytime. Line is open, 866-4FAN 4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, and the new location at 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. Shall we get to some takes, Gino?
Takes, and then the moment I've been waiting for since May. I'm ready. First, I think we should keep tabs on the Bills Stadium overruns here. It's going to cost more than what they say, but remember, you, me, every other taxpayer is not on the hook for this. That's Terry Pegula. Look, he's not selling the Sabres. But just put it this way. If he were ever to sell one of his teams, well, what happened last week would have been step number one, right? To get rid of the umbrella company. And look, I don't want this to happen for the Bills Stadium. Let's get this right off the bat. Every time I go to a Wings game, I'm reminded that the original blueprint for our baseball stadium in Rochester had a roof. And that would have been really nice yesterday or Sunday on a nice hot day. Look, the roof is gone. I'm just saying that whatever happens with the Bills Stadium, will Pegula actually pay for it, or
Because we're here in Rochester and kind of out of the blast zone and the radius there in Buffalo, I mean, I can keep my expectations fairly low, just given what we've had to endure here as sports fans. I'll be satisfied if they build locker rooms on the stadium, Gene. That's all I really care about. Like, how do you build a stadium and you don't attach locker rooms to it?
That's another miss there.
Right. So just knowing what we've endured through the process of watching some of our local stadiums and arenas get built or renovated, my expectations are fairly low. I'm pretty certain that anything that they do, even if they cut a few corners, it's still going to blow the minds of most Bills fans who haven't been to another NFL stadium. If you've been to an NFL stadium, then you'll probably be able to compare notes. But initially, it's going to be impressive. Everybody's going to, even if they cut corners, it's still going to be superior and far more impressive what they have right now, Kern Highmark.
Does Terry Pegula spend the money, or does he cut corners?
Oh, I think they're going to look to cut corners wherever they can.
Yeah.
How tall were those buffalo that they were going to have in the courtyard? 18 feet buffalo? Maybe 14 feet. We'll shave a couple of feet off the buffalo statues in the front of the stadium. Wherever they cut corners, they'll cut corners. But I think it'll still be an impressive sight for any Bills fan who is yet to venture off to another NFL stadium. When you go to other NFL stadiums, hell, we went to the stadium in Cleveland, and even that stadium is like, this is kind of nicer than Highmark.
You go to somewhere else. I went to Detroit. I'm like, we're in the same league here?
That's right.
Really?
Yeah. There's a few things that begin to crystallize here. That you see their focus sharpen here as football begins each and every year. How about USC's Caleb Williams? Did you see him this weekend just doing things that make you want to believe he can be the second coming of Patrick Mahomes in the NFL? Now, with that in mind, let me offer up a few takes here, Gino, that will fall kind of like dominoes. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray was named a team captain for this upcoming season. Now, I think Murray ends up playing in less than 7 games for the Cardinals this season, and then he'll be dealt in the offseason. And I already hear everybody saying nobody's going to want to inherit his contract. Nobody wants that deal. It's the same garbage I heard a few seasons ago when the Eagles moved on from Carson Wentz. Everybody thought I was crazy. I'm like, no, teams are so desperate for franchise quarterbacks that they will take that leap even if there's question marks around the guy's character, leadership, or contract. And here's where Williams comes in. It's easy to think that Arizona could do with Murray and Williams what they did years ago with Rosen and Murray. But there's a wrinkle to that plan. You see, Cliff Kingsbury is working with Williams at USC right now. And my guess is, well, he's going to persuade him to play anywhere but Arizona as a pro. So to review, Kyler Murray plays for a new team in 2024. Caleb Williams plays for a team not named the Cardinals in 2024. The Cardinals tear it down again after an abysmal season and a lack of a return on investment on the guy that they prematurely re-signed last offseason to be their franchise quarterback. Starting quarterback in Arizona next season, I'll go ahead and say Kirk Cousins.
Unless I'm going to offer you a new wrinkle. I was going to save this for bold predictions, but we're on the topic right now.
Oh, okay.
What if you took the head coach along with him? I mean, to me, if there is one team in the NFL this year where that coach looks like he's one and done, it's Gannon. He looks like he is dead man walking right now. So that would be the one. If Lincoln Riley ever wanted to kind of make the move, they would welcome him in. Doesn't matter what Kingsbury would say. What is the relationship between the new head coach at USC? He's been there a couple of years, I know, and Caleb Williams. That's point number one. Point number two, the Cardinals have they've got a tightrope here to walk. You want to lose as many games, but you somehow need to showcase Kyler Murray to show that he still has it and some spark, because if you don't play Kyler Murray right now, that lasting image of him, you got to try to build up that value somehow to get by that objection. I would say that when Carson Wentz, when everything was done in Philadelphia, you still remembered him as, he was an MVP candidate at some point. I'd say Murray's image right now is lower than the Carson Wentz in Philadelphia.
Yes, and maybe that improves through the course of this season when he recovers from the ACL. I guarantee you there will be teams, and it might be Minnesota. Like Minnesota could be the place that Kyler Murray plays next season because they're looking for somebody younger, somebody more athletic that can run that offense a little bit more effectively. Maybe that's a guy like Murray. I don't know, but like it feels like the dominoes. You just kind of like look into the crystal ball, and as you kind of sharpen your gaze, things start to become like clear. This one feels so clear to me. Like Kingsbury has to be in the ear of Caleb Williams. Like, hey, the next level, anywhere but Arizona. Anywhere but that place. And with Kyler Murray, it's like, come on. Eventually, he's not going to be there. Gannon won't be there. Maybe you bring in another coach. Maybe the truth is somewhere in between. Maybe it's Lincoln Riley getting to become the head coach, but Kyler Murray is his starting quarterback. Although, and I only say that because I think college coaches in the NFL, I think, is a mistake now. When was the last time it worked? It hasn't worked in so long that I think there's a stench to doing that. But a team as dysfunctional as Arizona might be the team that would say, I'll buck that trend. Yeah, let's bring in the coach from USC to work with Kyler Murray after what he did with Caleb Williams.
Well, it just seems like Arizona's coaching search was botched to begin with. It's like Gannon again. I think he's going to be the coach that looks a little over his head.
Yes, sir.
Not the game we're going to pick up. I already picked against the Cardinals in Week 1. This is the Week 1 matchup we're talking about today. Miami and the Chargers. Late afternoon window. And again, Sunday. Are we not looking forward to Sunday? Yes, we are. You can just watch any game, and this is one of them. 425. And we have some line movement here, Mike Danger. Now it's up to the Chargers minus the 3. And then in a game like this, you might be inclined to say, hey, this is one playoff team against another playoff team from last year, and flip a coin. I'll just take the team with the points. A reminder, Tua was horrible against the Chargers last year, 10 of 28 in the loss. Tua is 0-3 on the West Coast in his career. And yes, the Dolphins were a playoff team, despite the fact they enter this game on a 5-game road losing streak. They're not a good road team, period. Chargering be damned, take the Chargers.
I'm with you on that. You could have stopped that sentence with Tua was just not good down the stretch last year. I mean, like down the stretch, Tua was a good hot start. Down the stretch, not good. Not good for Tua. And everybody's concerned about whether or not he can make it through the season without any further injury. I'm saying that even if he's healthy, Tua may not be the answer. They may find themselves wondering what to do with Tua if he's not, able to perform at the level they need to perform at. I'm not high on Tua going into the season again, like last season, although he did have the hot start last season. Before we get to your survive and advance pick, Gino, not to put you on the spot, can we identify somebody who may be in hot water?
Oh, I'm going to go Gannon, the coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Fair enough.
This is funny. They're not announcing their Week 1 starter against Washington. Woo! Like, honestly, like Dobbs or the other guy, I can't even think. Like, this is a team that is clearly tanking. And good luck to this head coach. He's in hot water. That's bad hot water. See how good hot water can be at Ace Swim and Leisure. They've been serving Rochester area families since 1962, and it isn't very often something comes along as cool and different and new as the all-new jacuzzi swim spa. It's the right size. It's the right price. It's the pool spa combo that gives you the pro-grade water workout and the therapeutic water massage. See the all-new jacuzzi swim spa for yourself at Ace Swim and Leisure's Chilai Avenue store today or aceswim.com.
All right, Gino. You know what? I didn't. We're not going to be able to. We got to get a new show open for your new segment open for your survive and advance pick. With our big voice guy.
Ah, yes.
Survive and advance.
Well, it's all right. Because my plan here, as I stretch my arms, if you're watching, we're going to be going for a long, long time here, Mike Danger. I am relaxed. I am confident, and so it begins. Survive and advance. This is the toughest pool to win. And as a reminder, I have won this. I've also taken you to Christmas Eve one year. I've also flamed out in Week 1. So, like the good, the bad, listen to my experience. And every Tuesday around this time, we'll give you our pick just so you have it in advance. And the important thing, Danger, is when it comes to survivor pools, especially as we get further along, talk to people. Ask for their opinion. Take everything in.
Network, build relationships, shake some hands.
Absolutely. Now, my rules for picking a winner, it's really kind of a process of elimination thing, okay? We do not want to pick road teams. And granted, What happened last year? Violated that rule. Kansas City took a road team. Don't do it. Don't do it.
And it eliminated us. It was Kansas City against
Indianapolis. The crappy Colts did us in.
That's right.
Yeah, Frank Reich will later be fired. No divisional games. Don't do it. They're always close. The Vegas line is our god. It's not the be-all, end-all, but the favorite you must pick should be giving more than 5 points. These are the important ones. No savers. Savers are losers. Buck Showalter, okay, with the Baltimore Orioles. Hey, I've got to get to the next inning. Let me save my closer so when we get a lead. No, you never got to Zach Britton. You lost to the Blue Jays. Savers are losers. We've got tunnel vision here, Mike Danger.
Yeah.
Tunnel vision. Hedgers are losers. This is big in week 1. Because any survivor pool, you're going to see some Jamo that puts in 5 entries, 10 entries. You know how much thought they're putting into it? Not as much as we are, okay? And that's wasted dollars, or wasted energy. Bad defenses are bad plays. Rule number 6, kind of hard to identify right now, but that will come into play later on. Rule number 7, not applicable this week. Avoid taking the team that's playing at home for the second consecutive week. You don't get that bounce. Rule number 8, no shame in picking against the bad team week after week. We could have some bad teams this year. Cardinals, bad. We could have Houston maybe showing some life at some point, but not right now. There's going to be some bad teams in this league. And then rule number 9, no kill shot. Don't override logic. If you're looking at the rest of your pool and you say, 90% of my pool is taking Team A, I'm going to take Team B. No, don't outsmart yourself. Nobody ever wins their pool in week 1 or 2. And if you do, it's not worth it to be in that pool. So with that being said, let's cross some things off the list, Mike Danger.
Okay.
We're going to eliminate the divisional games this week. Carolina, Atlanta, Bengals and Browns. Jacksonville, 5-point road favorite in Indy. You don't want any part of that. Violates 3 rules: divisional, road, and the smaller spread. We want more than 5. Don't go anywhere near the Jags. Packers, Bears, Broncos, Raiders, Rams, Seahawks, the Giants, Cowboys, Bills, Jets. All off the list. Cross off any home favorite that's less than 5 points. So the Saints at home against the Titans. Saints are only given 3. Don't want that. As we mentioned just earlier, the Chargers, 3 points. They're favored over Team Tua. I don't want any part of that either. And we have a couple road favorites this week. And actually, I'm not sure either one is going to win here. Philadelphia going into New England. They'll probably get it done. 4.5-point favorites. I don't want that. Pittsburgh's a home dog. San Francisco's giving 2.5 in Pittsburgh. Do not want any part of that. Should be a good game. Well, in the end, this leaves us with 4 choices. We got the Chiefs at home, -6.5 against Detroit. We've got the Vikings, 6-point favorites against the Bucs. Commanders, right on the edge, minus the 5.5 against Arizona, team tanking. And the Ravens, the biggest spread on the board, minus the 10 against the Texans. Do we have any update, Danger, on the Chiefs-Lions line here? With Travis
I do
Kelce?
think it moved a point in favor of the Lions with the news of the Kelce injury. I just looked at FanDuel before we jumped on the air. I haven't had a chance to look at it in the last hour or so, but they had all of the anytime touchdown props taken off the board. Kelce's hyperextended knee is more. It means more to that line than Chris Jones not being out there. It's interesting.
Looking at that Vikings, do we really trust Kirk Cousins? Do we really trust the Minnesota Vikings week 1? I know Tampa has Baker Mayfield. That just feels like a trap. I'm going to cross that off the list.
Okay.
We've got better options here, which leaves us with the Chiefs at home or the Commanders. Boy, that would be kind of rich. Me taking the Chiefs, and then they knock me out week 1. I'm going to cross the Chiefs off, too, especially with the Travis Kelce news. I think the Lions will go in there and score points. I think it's going to be an entertaining opening game. Leaves us with the Commanders and the Ravens. The Commanders and the Ravens. Washington, this is where you give pause here. Washington, home crowd, new owner, crappy Cardinals. The question I have is Washington any good, though?
Yeah.
Is Sam Howell any good? Oh, Mike Danger. I'm sorry. There's only one choice. There's only one choice this week.
There's been one choice.
There's only one choice. The man who finished up his career in Baltimore. Hit it. Give me some Coach Prime.
Because it's not about them. This is about us.
It's about us.
This has nothing to do with the team that's opposing us.
It's nothing to do with
This
your
is about
opponents.
us. This ain't got nothing to do with the naysayers, the unbelievers, the haters, the doubters. This is about us. When we started this journey, we told you it was going to be trying. It was going to be tough.
Oh, it
But you
is.
endure it.
We will.
Because it's about us. That man next to you is a miracle.
Thank you.
That man next to you is a believer. That man next to you is a go-getter. That man next to you is a dog. That man next to you is somebody who wants this thing. That man next to you is somebody who believes. That man next to you is somebody that gots to have it today. We ain't got tomorrow. We got now. We ain't got next. We got now. We ain't coming no more. Since y'all know we here, give me my theme music.
Mike Danger, you give me my theme music. Hit those bells. Baltimore, your week 1 pick. Book it now. Thank me on Monday.
Whew. Well, I'm ready to run through a wall. Thanks, Gino.
Thank you, Coach Prime.
Coach Prime, the inspiration.
It's talking about the journey. And I can hear people saying, well, this is my only chance to take Washington. I don't care. Baltimore is the pick. Baltimore, who their coach prides in winning in the preseason and prides in having his guys all callous and everything. And going against a rookie quarterback?
You think they're going to lose against a rookie quarterback? I mean, that might have been the most anticlimactic week 1 Survivor pick that we've ever had. That schedule came out. We circled it immediately. Like,
I'm going to give you another one. It was actually Baltimore. When Baltimore gets Bills and Nathan Peterman, I hate to do this, Bills fans, and you know how much pushback we got? No, and they're like, no, it's going to be bad.
It was bad.
It was bad.
It's something we'll always remember, that Sean McDermott, in his infinite wisdom, thought it would be a great idea week 1 of that season, Josh Allen's rookie year, to start Nathan Peterman over Josh Allen. If you invest a round 1 pick on a quarterback, he's your starter week 1. Make that a rule moving forward, please.
Unless you have a veteran that, okay, we can actually win with an Alex Smith here and have the best of both worlds. You're not winning with Peterman.
Oh, don't worry. Peterman got a promotion. Peterman is QB2 on the Bears roster. I don't know if you saw that news.
You're kidding.
No.
You what?
Yeah. He's QB2 in Chicago. Not practice squad.
Are you okay? I didn't miss that.
Am I okay? Am I okay? It's a really tough question for me to answer right now. I mean, he was cut last week, re-signed to the practice squad, and now QB2. Undrafted rookie Tyson Bagent will be the quarterback on the Bears practice squad. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude,
Something about that guy.
No.
He has a musk that head coaches it's intoxicating. Josh Allen sat behind him for a half. Sean McDermott thought that was the guy that should start the season. Mistake.
Did you ever see the sequel to Ocean's 11?
Ocean's 12?
Yeah. Where they give like the musk there, and like the woman all of a sudden becomes but that's what they're talking about, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's what Peterman has. All right, we're going to talk a little fantasy football. Tony Cotillo, Win Daily Sports, joining us next. We have an injury of fantasy relevance in Thursday night's game. What will we get, if anything, out of Travis Kelce? If you've already drafted, chances are if you have him on your team, you invested to get him on your team, and now you might not have him for Thursday. The fallout of the hyperextended knee of Travis Kelce with Tony Cotillo of Win Daily Sports. Next in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite.
Sports Update.
Bills get back to work tomorrow getting ready for the opener in New York against the Jets. Today, Ryan Bates and Taron Johnson restructuring their contracts. As far as that opener, Dan Orlovsky today on One Bills Live says that should be a crazy
It'll be the biggest home game for the Jets, certainly in years and maybe, decades. And they're playing against a team that for the last, 3 years has been one of the teams to beat in the conference, that has one of the best quarterbacks in football, that has Super Bowl expectations. That place will be nuts.
6 days away, we'll have the coverage Monday beginning at 4 o'clock here on the Sports Leader. From Chiefs practice today, tight end Travis Kelce leaving with a hyperextended knee, leaving his status in question for Thursday night's opener. Red Wings are off tonight. They're at Lehigh Valley tomorrow. The 2024 schedule is out. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
If you've had your fantasy draft, you saw somebody, maybe it was you, invest heavily in Travis Kelce, who today pulled up lame in practice with a hyperextended knee. Let's talk about the fallout from that news and more. Fantasy football talk with Win Daily Sports. Tony Cotillo joining us in the Sports Bar. Tony, good having you on with us. How panicked are you if you're a Kelce owner going into week one?
Oh, man, let me tell you. I mean, I heard the panic shot around the world as soon as he went down because I'll be honest with you guys, this is the most heavily invested guy in fantasy football today. I've done so many drafts, whether it be through Sirius, Win Daily, listener leagues, and Travis Kelce was drafted anywhere between 5 and 7 overall out of every single one of my drafts. And this is what happens, right? And unfortunately, this is one of the biggest injuries I've seen in a long time. Now, obviously, we don't know exactly what his status is. I'm going to go out on my own power and say he's probably not going to play. That's just knowing Andy Reid and knowing it's a Thursday night game and knowing they have a whole season to prepare for. But just going forward, even if he's limited, I mean, this puts a big emphasis on who else you drafted on your team.
It's funny. Like this time last year, I fell into this trap. Like, the Chiefs won't be the same because they don't have Tyreek Hill, and then they went out and they figured it out certainly, and they won the Super Bowl. So here's my question. And again, Kelce, maybe he's out there, maybe he's not. But as far as the other guys who will be getting targets, how would you assess whether it's Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore? Is there somebody else that's going to be the beneficiary here, Tony?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. It's pretty ironic that the same day that Kelce goes off the field, Kadarius Toney comes back on the field, right? So it's kind of odd. I'm a big Kadarius Toney guy, but the problem is he just can't stay healthy. I think he has all the talent in the world, but I also think he's one of those diva-type receivers, like a T.O. So, mentally, is he strong enough? He does have the great Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but is he strong enough? I look at guys like Sky Moore. Not once Sky Moore comes in as the starting slot receiver on a team where you have Sky Moore who has no red flags. He has no injury history. He spent an entire year in this offense for the Chiefs, and Andy Reid loves that slot receiver that can be kind of like gadget guy. And we saw that a few games, probably week around 11 to 10 with Sky Moore last year. But another guy, a sleeper to keep your eye on, is Jerick McKinnon. And the reason why I say McKinnon is Andy Reid just pushed McKinnon to that next level last year and found out that he can utilize him in the passing game a lot. So if anybody's going to get more targets than people imagine, because people did draft Sky Moore, but not a lot of people drafted McKinnon. So that's another guy you can look at as a one-week flyer.
Tony, if you haven't drafted your team yet, like Gino and I have another draft tonight, what do you think this Kelce injury does to his draft position? And where do you actually think you can get value if he happens to fall? Is it Kelce's now a second-round pick, a third-round pick? How far do you think he falls because of this news?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting because I'm the same way. I have a draft tomorrow night. We have our Win Daily draft, and I'm curious. I can't wait because it is 100%. The age was already a concern. And here's the other thing too, guys. We don't know. I'm not sure. I've been looking around. I don't know what knee it is. He has a lengthy history with his left knee. So if it's his left knee, it could be even a bigger problem if it's not his right knee. So we need to really look at that. I think he does drop. But that's based on what I was telling you guys earlier. I mean, he's been looking at anywhere between an ADP of 5 to 7 overall. That's not just tight end. So I think he does drop a little bit, and it's going to be up to you. For me, I'm different, guys. I don't like to draft through adversity. If there's any lingering issues with any one of my top guys in the first or second round, I'm not taking them. I'd rather take the next guy because I know Travis Kelce is great, but if I can get Mark Andrews around later, I think I'm sitting pretty good.
Yeah, you're no concern with Andrews and everything because that week one, he's on the injury report. There's something I read about him being a diabetic. No concerns at all, in your opinion?
Yeah, stuff like that to me is manageable. So, we're not talking about a ligament. We're not talking about a soft tissue injury. I think things like that are manageable, and I think knowing the litany of a guy like Mr. Harbaugh, who was on Andy Reid's staff here in Philadelphia, and the reason why he went from special teams coach right to head coach is because he knows how to manage those type of things. So I wouldn't be as worried, but that you do make a good point. If you are worried just a little bit, you can drop down to a guy like T.J. Hockenson or a guy like Darren Waller, who's going to be the number one tight end in New York and the number one target in New York too. So it pivots your draft strategy. So I would say to anybody drafting, next, look at your tier system and say to yourself, can I get a wide receiver that's just as good, maybe 10% less, and then I could pick that back up later on with a tight end to give me maybe 75% of what Travis Kelce can give me.
Tony, have you identified the teams that you want absolutely no part of in terms of fantasy? I look at a team like Arizona, and since the last time we spoke, they've made some moves here that are head scratchers and have you believing that they might be in for a tank. But, there is talent on that team. James Conner was productive last year. Rondale Moore, certainly somebody that I think, Marquise Brown. Like, there are names on the offensive side of the ball there in Arizona, but are you staying away just based on the situation altogether?
Yeah, I remember, it's funny. The last time I was on the show, the one team I stayed away from, and I still say San Francisco, and the next team is Arizona. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think the head coach is a stiff, right? Like, I honestly, I had no idea why everybody loved Jonathan Gannon. I mean, he was a defensive coordinator, in my opinion, lost us a Super Bowl because he had no idea what he was doing. He was so worried about hanging out and getting his head coach a job that he forgot he had to run a defense. So I look at that team, and I look at some of his press conferences and some of his rah-rah speeches, and I'm a passionate guy. I know you guys hear that in my voice. And if I was sitting in that room listening to that speech, I'd probably walk out and be like, who is this guy? Where did they find him, right? So I am all out on Arizona because, number one, not only is it tank, Kyler Murray's not going to play this year. We already know that. James Conner, give me a break. People are overdrafting him. I want no part of that. And we don't know who's going to catch the ball week in and week out, or even how they're going to basically employ an offense out there. At least if I go with a team like Tampa Bay, even though I might not like Baker Mayfield, they have weapons out there that I can get behind, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and in my money, a biggest sleeping running back in Rashawn White.
All right, we're talking to Tony Cotillo here in the Sports Bar. Tony, as far as, Jonathan Taylor, a guy who was number one overall in most leagues last year, and now he starts on PUP. And look, there was one draft, and I did it, but it wasn't the round. It was, all right, he would be my running back 4 at that point. And I'm thinking, so what would be your advice as to when to pull the trigger on Jonathan Taylor, if you do it at all? Or is that just so many question marks, you're just kind of avoiding it altogether?
Now, you said the magic words, right? You're running back 4. I drafted Jonathan Taylor twice in the past week, and I drafted him one draft. I drafted him in round 8, and the other one I drafted him around 9. And I'll be honest with you, if you're around 8 or 9 and you don't have your starting 5 lined up, then you might as well just bag the draft and don't even play, right? So you already know you have your guy set. So he's going to be a bench guy. This guy's going to play. He's going to play. We just don't know when, how productive he's going to be. But who are you going to get around 7, 8, or 9 that is going to be more productive than Jonathan Taylor on the field? Listen, I've said this all before. I'll say it again. If you look at wide receivers, into the top 12, they're all the same guy. 13 to 45 is literally the same guy. It's just a matter of personal preference. Maybe you look at strength of schedule, head coach, offensive scheme. So I look at him just like an Alvin Kamara when I was drafting him earlier, when I thought he was going to be out 6 games and not 2 or 3. And I said, look, The value is there as a running back 3 or 4. So, yeah, anything at the round 7, 8, or 9, that's kind of where Jonathan Taylor goes. Take a shot because you never know. He's going to be on the field after week 4, and he could be very productive, and he could possibly be one of the starters on your team.
Tony, there's an offense that, in my opinion, is kind of flying under the radar, but could be very productive for fantasy purposes. And I want to get your take on what Jacksonville's got going on and how you think that backfield works out with ETN back there. He's got some competition for touches now as well. Does Trevor Lawrence take another step up this season with some of the weapons he has now in tow? I mean, what is your take on Jacksonville's offense heading into this fantasy season?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the minority here because I look at Jacksonville as taking a step back a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. And again, this is just, you have to understand, I come in here straight from Philadelphia, and I'm a Doug Peterson guy in the sense that I'm not saying I'm in love with Doug Peterson. I'm saying I've dealt with Doug Peterson in here for many, many years. And I look at kind of what Trevor Lawrence did last year, and listen, he was very good. But if you're looking at it from a fantasy perspective, you look at, even if you go all the way to the division playoffs, 3 out of those last 4 games, he barely sniffed 17 points. Okay, so I look at that, and you can count him, and he barely had double-digit touchdown games in more than 50% of his time. So I look at that, and I say, okay, can he go up to that next level? You mentioned Travis Etienne. I really think that Doug Peterson I know they have Calvin Ridley this year, and I know you have another year of Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram was signed. You have a lot of weapons. But I think he's going to be a little more conservative than people think he is. I really do. And I think what you saw last year from Trevor Lawrence, 66% completion percentage, I don't think you're going to see that again. 25-8, that is coming from a year from 12-17. I think he has double-digit interceptions this year, and I think he takes a step back on touchdowns. So I would say 22-12 is where I see touchdowns and picks, and possibly 4,000 yards, but I just don't think he's going to be as productive as a quarterback this year in that offense.
Yeah, we are a little more than 48 hours away from opening night, Kansas City against Detroit, and we talked about the Chiefs. What about the Lions? And I go back to draft night, Tony, we're like, wait a second, what are they doing trading up for Jahmyr Gibbs? Obviously, they really like him. So, again, week 1, it's a mystery. We're going to learn a lot here. But what is your forecast here? How do they divide the carries here? Is this going to be a true handcuff he's got in David Montgomery? Do they trust Gibbs on all 3 downs? How do you see that working out in Detroit?
Yeah, this is really interesting because I actually really like – I think people are overdrafting Jahmyr Gibbs. I do. I like him. I do, and I know he's a stud, and I know he has all this ability, but – at the same time, why would you trade up and get this guy when you need so much other work on the defensive side of the ball? Obviously, like you said, they really saw something, right? They saw flashes. But is that going to be a flash of a guy who's going to get you 20 touches a game? I don't think so, right? So I still think Montgomery is a guy that people are underdrafting. I think he's a guy that you could put in as one of your running backs. I do. He played in Chicago, and when he played very well. And you're right. So you already know that they're going to utilize him, in the sense of they had a guy in Jamal Williams who was a battering ram last year that just, the same kind of guy like David Montgomery. So they're going to use him a lot. So I like Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm just saying, just take a step back. Don't think he's going to be your running back 1, but he could possibly be. I'll tell you this, guys. Look at Rachaad White last year, right? And he could kind of be like that kind of guy. 50 catches last year for Rachaad White. I think you could see the same thing with Jahmyr Gibbs.
Tony, it's bold prediction season. Do you have a bold prediction for the upcoming fantasy season?
Yeah, I'll give you a really good one. A lot of people took a step back with this, and I love doing these, right? I love doing these, but I will say this to the audience. I do this with a lot of research. I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I think by the end of the year, Jaylen Warren will be the running back 1 in Pittsburgh over Najee Harris. I really like what Jaylen Warren is able to do. I think Tomlin is really in on Jaylen Warren, and I think that he's more of an explosive style back than Najee Harris. Tell everybody, remember something. Look at the yards per carry with Najee Harris. They're not very good. 3.9, 3.8. That is putrid for a running back. Warren's more explosive, hits the hole harder, and I think he'll be the running back 1 by the end of the year.
Can we stay in Pittsburgh? Because we're having this debate. If you go to all the big ones, your ESPNs, your Yahoos, et cetera, if you're, when you're drafting and they give you their rankings, and every time I look, I'm like, wow, I think they're all undervaluing George Pickens here. Am I crazy for reaching us a little bit there for George Pickens, or is that just a receiver in his second year? He's still got to show you something.
No, you're not crazy at all. I will say I'm a little biased because if you guys ask me right now if I could take any head coach in the NFL to start a team with, it's going to be Mike Tomlin 10 times out of 10. So Mike Tomlin stuck with Mr. Pickett at quarterback and Pickens as receiver this year and just completely allowed them to work together in the offseason. You guys saw it in the preseason. I know it's only the preseason, but the way those guys connected, you can already see that Kenny Pickett's a different style quarterback. And George Pickens can make every play like a young prime DeAndre Hopkins. And what I'm really excited about is they didn't go out and do anything, guys. They didn't say, let's bring another receiver in here. No, they stuck with Deontay Johnson. They stuck with their tight end in Freiermuth, and they stuck with this guy in George Pickens. Now, I'm not going to go Ryan Clark and say he's going to be a top 10 receiver this year, but he's absolutely going to be in the top 20. And right now, he is not drafted anywhere near that. So I do love me some George Pickens this year.
Tony, tell our audience where they can get more of your insight and analysis to help win their fantasy leagues this year as we get ready for the season to start on Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you can catch me at all things at Win Daily Sports every single day, dropping content there on the YouTube channel. You can catch me on Sirius XM Channel 87 on the weekends. From Saturdays from 6 to 8 p.m. for prime time for football season, and along with you guys here every other week, dropping in on Tuesdays, helping some people hopefully win their week.
Yeah, Tony, next Tuesday we're going to be talking about Bills, Jets, and kind of like it's almost going to be like an extended post-game show. So for 2 weeks from today, we'll be looking at some waiver wire options with you. Really appreciate you doing this for us today. You made us smarter here, Tony.
I hope so. Good luck with your drafting, my guys.
Appreciate it, Tony. Thank you very much. Tony Cotillo, Win Daily Sports, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports, joining us here in the Sports Bar, giving us a little hot and cold in fantasy football, brought to you by Airquip Heating and Air Conditioning. Fun and challenging to know when to start a player that's heating up or bench one that's cooling off. It is not fun to be too hot or too cold in your home or business. Make the best lineup call you can. Call Airquip today.
Jaylen Warren. See, I love takes like that.
I don't hate that at all. And there's a handful of players that you look around the league and you think they're so good, but right now you view them as like rookies, running backs specifically. Mm-hmm. Deuce Vaughn in Dallas. Charbonnet in Seattle. Oh, the heart is palpitating. Roschon Johnson in Chicago. Like just names of rookie guys that if they get an opportunity, they're going to explode.
Yeah, Charbonnet is going to have to wait for Walker to get dinged or whatever that is. I mean, that's
let's face it.
Yeah, right. So the way Pete Carroll runs his running backs into the ground, that's going to happen at some point.
You could have two 1,000-yard running backs in that Seattle offense. I could see Charbonnet and Walker each rushing for over 1,000 yards.
But the Gibbs and Detroit thing, I just feel like I need to see more if I'm going to say that's an RB1 here.
You need to see something.
Yeah.
What prevents you from saying the same thing about Atlanta, about Bijan in Atlanta?
This is the argument my son and I have all the time. And I would say, look, you don't draft top 10 at running back and then go by committee. The coach doesn't want to hear that. The GM doesn't want to hear that. They're going to unleash Robinson. I think he's the real deal.
Tyler Algier had over 1,000 rushing yards last year.
It's
very
true.
Quietly.
That's
very
true.
quietly, it was their goal line guy. Lots of touchdowns, over 1,000 yards rushing. You think he's just going to disappear? Do you think David Montgomery all of a sudden is just going to not be good? He's been good every opportunity he's been given. Those years in Chicago, Montgomery, when he was healthy, was good.
For the same reason, if we bring it close to Buffalo, yes, I know we were optimistic about James Cook, and yes, unlike Singletary, you might see James Cook be involved in the passing game. I still think if it's first and goal from the 5, you're going to see Murray or Harris or somebody out there.
Makes sense. Appreciate Tony stopping by to make us smarter fantasy players. We got some news and notes to get to from around the NFL. We'll do that next with appetizers. Happy hour right around the corner here in the Sports Bar as well. And you're always welcome to join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Talking about good smoke, man. Best barbecue in town. Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub in East Rochester. Award-winning barbecue, lunch, dinner, catering, must-try weekday specials like Taco Tuesday today, Wacky Wing Wednesday tomorrow. Tuesdays, every Tuesday, you've got Good Smoke's chicken, pork, or beef gorditas for only $3. On Wacky Wing Wednesday, buy one, get one free wings. Good Smoke's giant signature wings. Buy one, get one free on all 6 or 12 wing dine-in orders. On top of that, Good Smoke's Super Happy Hour features buy one, get one draft beers and $3 well drinks weekdays from 2 to 6. Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. Supporters of the Sports Bar, we love supporting them. You can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line at 866-4326. That number again, 585-866-4FAN. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
Get to some other news and notes from around the National Football League.
Well, before we do that, I guess this would qualify as breaking news from the NFL. Just updating the...
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
So as far as the Travis Kelce and his status, this is Ian Rappaport because this is the way it works. The media goombas giving you the info. Travis Kelce, his status is in doubt for Thursday night's opener against the Lions because of his knee injury. But sources tell Rappaport and Tom Pelissero it's not believed to be a long-term injury. They'll wait for the swelling to go down and go from there.
So we'll have official game statuses for Thursday night tomorrow. And that'll probably be the next time we get an official update on his health for week 1 and beyond here. I don't know that they're going to, it's trending, at least it sounds like it's trending in the direction of him not going Thursday night, which is a huge blow for Kansas City.
Right. If it's that long a season, and if like when you're talking about if it were a playoff game, I'm sure they would figure out something just like they put Mahomes out there, but can they beat the Lions without Travis Kelce?
I think they can.
Can they? Well, remember, you don't have Chris Jones there, too, though.
Yeah.
That's still going on.
Yeah. Chris Jones not being there moved the Vegas line exactly 0 points. Travis Kelce not being there moved the line 1 point in favor of Detroit in Vegas. And thought that was interesting.
So some of these fun props right now are off the board.
I have to check. But right as I was getting on the air here at 3, I jumped on FanDuel and I was looking at anytime touchdown props because obviously no Travis Kelce. You might want to think, Isaiah Pacheco would be somebody, or maybe Sky Moore, or, another wide receiver that could get in the end zone with more frequency or more likelihood. So that news. Yeah, that news kind of jarred not only your fantasy lineups, but also Vegas as well. And it's moving in the direction. It sounds like that he won't be out there for Thursday night's game against Detroit.
While I read this next story, can you do me a favor? I just want to check something on the monitor. Put on channel 13. Okay. Meanwhile, while we're talking about that, Buffalo Bills creating some cap space on the season as they restructured Ryan Bates and Taron Johnson, both their contracts. The moves create about $4.5 million in cap space for the year. But as you heard, maybe Chris Brown, Steve Tasker kind of talk about this. Don't get any grand ideas that this is the Bills setting themselves up for something else. Basically, if you want to call up a guy from the practice squad, then all of a sudden you got to kind of account for that.
You wanted to watch Dr. Phil?
Okay, so that confirms, that
even
though
still on Spectrum?
Yes, that 13 is still on Spectrum because, well, you've got this Disney Spectrum, sorry for the language, pissing match that's going on right now, and you, the subscriber, are caught in this.
Yeah, I'm not a Spectrum guy, so when I got to the gym on, I think it was on Saturday, and I saw the monitor say, Spectrum is fighting to keep costs down while protecting and maximizing customer choice. The rising cost of programming is the single greatest factor in higher cable TV prices. We are fighting hard to hold the line against increased programming rates that Disney continues to demand. We understand this is an inconvenience and hope to return this programming soon while reaching an agreement that is fair to our customers. We appreciate your loyalty and look forward to continuing to serve you. So you see that and you're like, all right, yeah, this is a negotiation between the two sides. And you have reports that Charter, Spectrum's owner, they kind of want to get out of the video business altogether. They're actually driving people to Fubo, YouTube, other platforms where you can get ABC, or where you can get Disney programming, I should say.
Danger, when I handed back my boxes, there was no pushback. This is a few years ago when locally here, when they canceled the Time Warner Sports Network, and now it's Spectrum, of course, but what are you doing? So they've been going in this direction for a while, and I don't know if it gets settled. What makes this different is usually it's MSG, to my knowledge, it's the first time ESPN has gotten caught in this. Usually that's the one where okay, whatever you want. Now all of a sudden, yeah, you know what? ESPN's going to do this direct-to-consumer thing. So
we had this issue with Sinclair, I think, on DirecTV a couple of years ago. I remember DirecTV and Sinclair, I think, had an issue during the NBA Finals. Yeah, so this is an uncommon territory. It's not uncharted territory here, but the timing of it couldn't be worse because, of course, you have college football this weekend. That if you're Spectrum and you wanted to see some games on ESPN, you're out of luck. You will be able to see the Bills on Monday night on ABC. You'll also be able to hear the Bills right here on the Fan Rochester. That pregame gets underway 4 o'clock on Monday afternoon. And speaking of ESPN, Gene, I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah.
The original NFL insider is hanging it up. We're talking about Chris Mortensen announced his retirement. He actually made the decision to retire back in April after the draft. He just didn't announce anything until recently here. Mortensen has been battling esophageal cancer since early 2016. Man, just a trailblazer. Hard to imagine no more when you're tuning in any NFL coverage on ESPN.
Yeah, and by all accounts, I've never met him, but everybody has glowing things to say about him as a person. And I kind of admire that. Like, you're a reporter. It's always kind of a little different when you kind of make the story about yourself, right? And for Mortensen, if he announced his retirement back in April, it would have been about himself. So, like, today, just kind of fessed up like, you won't be seeing anything more from me because I actually retired back in April. Good for him. We mentioned about Travis Kelce. We have this news out of Chicago where Mike Danger needs to be consoled today, where their official backup quarterback to start the regular season, Nathan Peterman, who was cut last week only to be re-signed by Chicago, is listed as QB2 behind Justin Fields, with undrafted rookie Tyson Bagent on the team's practice squad.
This is fine. This is fine.
What, you're that dog? Yeah.
This is fine. I'm completely comfortable with the surroundings I'm in. Nothing to see here. Move on. I'm worried Justin Fields. I'm worried we're actually going to see Peterman. Like, I think Justin Fields, as magnificent as he can be, that offensive line isn't entirely fixed. They're doing their best, but he's going to be running for his life. He's been injured. We saw Peterman as recently as last year. Oh, I don't want to break out the jersey, the gifted jersey that Masterstroke Jr. gave us. I don't want to have to break that out this season. Can we just stash him on the practice squad? Let's never talk about Nathan Peterman again.
I feel bad for you because I figured that at least was the end of it. You had P.J. Walker there, too.
They moved on from him. He's in Cleveland now. Yeah. Moved on from him.
No, it's whatever Peterman has. He should be doing a TED Talk on this stuff. He should be doing sales seminars, whatever it is.
He says what the coaches want to hear. He has a musk. It's intoxicating, and they can't say no. John Gruden fell for it. Sean McDermott obviously fell for it. And go ahead and add Matt Eberflus, another notch in the belt of Nathan Peterman. All right, we're going to get to happy hour next in the sports bar. I'll talk a little bit more about the Buffalo Bills, that restructuring of a couple of deals, what that all means. We got a lot of information from Matt Perino, the Syracuse Post-Standard, as we're geared up and ready for week 1 in the NFL. And the big news that you discussed, that the Travis Kelce injury at practice today and what that means for his status Thursday as the league season gets underway in Kansas City. That's all on the way here with Happy Hour. You can join us at 866-4326, 866-4FAN. We'll get a round of shots in there as well. Here on the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Take a look at these pro football totals.
App at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills get back to work tomorrow. In the meantime, Ryan Bates and Taron Johnson restructuring their contracts. Chris Brown and Steve Tasker say it gives the Bills a buffer.
They cleared the cap space they needed, so they're under. So they can absorb injuries and guys up and down off the roster and all of that. So
well, yeah, I mean,
you gotta have some slack.
Yeah, they may need even a little more than that. I mean, that's not enough to get you through a season. So they might have to do a little bit more.
They probably got a short list of players they can go to and say, hey, what about it?
The moves clear $4.5 million. We're 6 days away from the season opener. Bills and Jets Monday. Our pregame coverage Monday will begin at 4 o'clock. From Chiefs practice today, tight end Travis Kelce leaving with a hyperextended knee, leaving his status in question for Thursday night's game against the Lions. Red Wings off tonight. They're in Lehigh Valley tomorrow. The 2024 schedule is out. Gene Battaglia, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Best Thursday of the year's coming up, and it's all about NFL opening night football. It's back, baby.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Pat Mahomes is going to dump a 5-gallon can of gas on their head and light them, and then throw them in a dumpster.
There is more Bills-Jets fodder to chew on.
Mike Danger.
We're going to have Survive in Advance. Yeah. We're going to have to make our bold predictions. We do that on Thursday.
Yeah.
Gene Battaglia.
My week one spotlight game, here we are, and let me be the first to pick it. The Bills and Jets. And let me be the first to say it. The Buffalo Bills are not going to win this game.
You're too much.
I love Clemson this year. I really do.
Some people have weird wastes for Clemson football. Last night at Duke, it was a weird game.
Honestly, all my years of football, I've never been a part of a game like that, ever.
It's a great night to be a Tiger.
Loser.
When we begin with those Colorado Buffaloes, because still the story of the college football world.
Touchdown! Touchdown, Colorado!
You believe that? Do you believe in that? Huh? Do you believe? You don't believe. You just answered it. You don't believe.
Or are you not entertained? Spain's Soccer Federation fired women's national team coach Jorge Vilda today and promised a complete restructuring.
Yes, let's talk about baseball. What would you like to talk about?
Hockey. Give us hockey now.
Buy or sell, you still feel that Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz will play each other in the U.S. Open Finals.
Bye. Mikal Bridges scored 24 to lead the USA men's basketball to that 163 rout of Italy in the FIBA World Cup quarterfinals. Up next is Germany or Latvia on Friday.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Man, I sincerely hope you enjoyed your long holiday weekend. Some of us, read me, still paying the price for maybe overdoing it a little bit. Hey, it was a good summer, man. It was a fun summer. And week one of college football delivered, I think, in a lot of different ways. You had some really, really great games. I think the big story, obviously, was Deion Sanders and Colorado upsetting TCU. But I don't want to take anything away. Like the Wyoming game was against Texas Tech was fantastic. That went into overtime. Wyoming with the upset.
And if you were with us last Wednesday when our guy PJ Glasser said, nope, this is the game to pick. Oh, he nailed that. And he'll be joining us this Thursday, so his appearance coming up. But yeah, and what also made college football enjoyable, Danger, was this. The prime time games delivered. At least Sunday night, you might have turned that off by the end. You're like, wow, I guess LSU isn't really all that. It's great to see Brian Kelly just wallow on the sideline and look lost there. I thought they were supposed to be contenders here.
He looked so disengaged. He's going to get fired. He's not going to last. You can't. You're the coach of LSU, man. This is a different animal down there. And for them to fold the way they did in the second half of that game, to not even show up every time they showed Brian Kelly, he just looked disengaged. And that's the worst thing you want out of your coach. I mean, be mad. If not mad, I mean, like, save the antics, but be madable. At least give me a look of intensity, something that shows that you've got a pulse. He looked disengaged.
As joyous that is, because I'm not a Brian Kelly fan. After what he did to Notre Dame, after what he did to Cincinnati, he is a charlatan. And his fake accent and everything.
He's a fraud.
It's a great night to be a Tiger.
Yeah.
I'm here with my family.
That is going to embolden every Florida State honk saying, look, what we did to the we belong in that conference. We can beat anybody in that conference. And I would just say, all right, you know what? You have this nice, clear path now to the 4-team playoff here, basically. Win the ACC. It's yours. Oh, by the way, yeah, Clemson.
Yeah.
How great was that last night? Yeah. And mind you, I do not like Duke basketball. Never have, never will. And it's funny how like my loyalties changed watching that last night. I'm like, this is great watching Sweeney. And not only did Clemson lose and do it in a self-imploding way, 4 trips in the red zone, 0 points, block punts, mistakes, blah, blah, blah. It's the loser language from Dabo Sweeney after the game saying, well, it was, it's basically he's saying it was a fluke. Well, it was just kind of a weird game out there, blah, blah, blah. No, you didn't have your team ready and you got skunked.
Love that. I love hearing a coach like Dabo speak the language of losers. It's not you. It can't possibly be you. You can't possibly have misstepped in your coaching. Those mistakes are on you. Brian Kelly, those mistakes in the second half. Your team not showing up on the second half, that's on you. You guys are in those prominent roles. You make all those moves. You're vocal when players wanted to get theirs, when players wanted to make a little money for their hard work. Sweeney was the guy that was so against it. You look at your paycheck now, and if you're a booster of these, if a fan of these programs, are you looking today and you're like, not worth it. These guys should go. They should go. That was embarrassing. It was embarrassing for LSU in the second half. You lost to Duke. Clemson lost to Duke week 1. So, yeah, Florida State has a path. And meanwhile, will you have coaches like that speaking the language of losers? You have our guy. Show me somebody who isn't a fan right now of Deion Sanders. Is there anybody out there that I remember as a player, there were people that thought, oh, he's cocky, he's arrogant, we don't like his antics, he's too much. I don't know that I ever felt that way about him as a player. I think I probably took for granted how good he was as a player.
I think the incident with Tim McCarver, that's always going to follow him around after the Braves won the World Series. He's dunking cold water and he's going after him in the lot. That was not good. But Deion has grown up as a man and as a leader. And you let bygones be bygones here.
Because it's not about them. This is about us. This has nothing to do with the team that's opposing us. This is about us. This ain't got nothing to do with the naysayers, the unbelievers, the haters, the doubters. This is about us. When we started this journey, we told you it was going to be trying, it was going to be tough, but you endured because it's about us. That man next to you is a miracle. That man next to you is a believer. That man next to you is a go-getter. That man next to you is a dog. That man next to you is somebody who wants this thing. That man next to you is somebody who believes. That man next to you is somebody that got to have it today. We ain't got tomorrow. We got now. We ain't got next. We got now. We got now. We ain't coming no more. We here. Since y'all know we here, give me my theme music.
And look, I'm sure that there are plenty of coaches out there who could deliver an unbelievable pregame speech. I'll always remember the movie Any Given Sunday, Al Pacino's, fight for that 1 inch. I mean, it's fantastic, but everything in that movie is an exaggeration of what actually happens in football. And hearing Deion Sanders deliver that pregame message, and then, after the game, after they won, asking, do you believe now? Unbelievable. So great. Again, find me somebody who isn't a fan of that right now. You could say whatever you want to say about Deion as a player. Like I said, I feel like I took him for granted as a player. I didn't really recognize just how good he was all those years. And I think I took him for granted as a broadcaster as well, his time with NFL Network. He had his own show, and I'd watch some of the highlights. And I thought, Deion's pretty good at broadcasting. But, man, this is his calling. This guy's a motivator. This guy's going to get these guys to run through a wall week in and week out.
I'm not jumping ahead because when you look at their schedule, Danger, by the time we get to October, we'll know the answer. Is this a team that we're going to be talking about to be in the playoff? Like, who wouldn't want to see Deion in the playoff? To think that you could take a team that won one game last year, and all of a sudden using the portal, using all your recruiting abilities, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but here in the month of September, you're taking on Nebraska, and they had a tough loss. New head coach, same deal, Matt Rule. And, all right, so you look at the line at this game, and we'll have to ask PJ Glasser about this when he joins us Thursday. Colorado only favored by 3? That's our home opener. Like, are they not? Is the world not paying attention to what's happening?
Vegas, do you not believe?
Colorado,
Vegas doesn't believe.
Colorado's ranked, too. 22 now.
Yeah.
Colorado State, that's a W. All right, then we get to the fun part here. September 23rd at Oregon. And then home against USC. If they are 5-0, I'm telling you, Danger, they will have the path to get to the national championship.
Absolutely. I'm over here thinking that they're going to be there just based on that speech. That speech alone is enough to carry them for an entire season. That's all I needed to hear.
Well, that's why you're not in the committee.
Yeah.
But
no, but I think that you're absolutely right. It's far-fetched to think that they will go undefeated or run the table. By the way, Pac-12, for all the joking that we didn't lose a game. Pac-12 didn't lose a single game this weekend. They're undefeated.
That's how bad that leadership was. There's good teams out there.
Unreal. So, yeah, the college football action this weekend was fantastic. And we'll have more college football later in the week. And you mentioned PJ Glasser. He'll be stopping by Thursday this week, the host of BetQL. Send it in. We'll get some winners.
Side note, so I literally ended up by accident in West Virginia then Saturday because, well, where I was in Marietta, I thought I was driving to the football stadium. It legitimately was a stadium danger.
Yeah.
And I realized, I'm in the wrong lane. Oh, I guess I'm going over the bridge. I ended up in West Virginia. So you're on the West Virginia border. Even though you're in Ohio, like everybody I was talking to down there, big Mountaineer fans. And they had Saturday circled because you talk to any of them, they are angry that the presidents of the Big Ten didn't invite in West Virginia, that they're stuck in the Big 12. Well, okay. Penn State sent you on your way there.
Yeah. I mean, it was... And Kimmy is a Mountaineer, and my brother-in-law is a big Penn State guy. So I was thinking a lot about my acquaintances and my friends and my family who had some skin in that game. And my brother-in-law was at the game, and over 100,000 people. I mean, it is an atmosphere unlike anything else. Go to a college football game when you have a stadium with over 100,000 people, 100,000 fans. It's insane.
Well, can you just sidebar? I've never been there, but I've driven by it.
It's a terrible looking stadium.
No, it's like an erector set.
It looks terrible. Yeah. The stadium looks terrible, but it is a scene. And Penn State, I think they're not. I know last week I said, look, that Michigan game for Penn State is really the one that's I think going to determine the Big Ten. I don't know how impressed I am by Ohio State. I think Penn State can get by Ohio State this year in Ohio State.
They had Ohio State problems with Indiana. Didn't put them away till late.
And I think when Michigan comes to Happy Valley, that's the game. And if Penn State wants any hope of being in the college football playoff before it expands, because they'll get in once it expands, it's not going to be as special for them. They want to get in now as the representative for the Big Ten. Yeah, you got to beat Michigan. And had some issues. Penn State wasn't a clean game, but you got a lot of talent on that roster. Wish you had a little bit more size in the middle of the defensive line, but we'll see. We'll see how the Nittany Lions fare here through the course of the season.
Oh, and Syracuse can't beat Colgate in basketball, but you know what? They can beat them in football.
Yeah. Woo. We were talking to one of our Syracuse, Kevin, who does football with us.
Yeah, Kevin Roche.
Friday Night Rivals. And Kevin, you interested in watching, big Syracuse guy? You interested in watching this weekend? No, not watching. What, you don't want to see your team rout another team? What was the final? 63? 56?
Yeah,
something like that.
Like that's the argument for let's have the youth running clock here and just let's wrap this up.
The
and
mercy
move on.
rule. Yeah. Just put them out of their misery. That was terrible. The Buffalo Bills today restructured 2 of their veteran contracts. New restructured deals for Ryan Bates and Taron Johnson, creating about $4.5 million in cap space for this year. That's wiggle room. That's not a move that you make because you're going to go out and sign a big ticket item or find, you need that kind of space under the cap. So you get that with Bates and with Taron Johnson. The team gets back to work tomorrow. They're back on the practice field. So tomorrow we'll have Sean McDermott sound. Sean McDermott speaking to the media tomorrow. I don't know how many lies we'll get.
I think we're going to be disappointed if you're expecting lies tomorrow. Like he's going to say all these great, Aaron Rodgers still has it. Okay.
Yeah, he probably does.
No, why create the space? Do you know how much practice squad players make in the NFL? Well, if you're a veteran with 2 years experience, you make $15,000 a week. I would love to make $15,000 a week as you would you. That is grossly underpaid when you compare it to the minimum salary when you have to kind of get bumped up. So just keep that in mind. Like, hey, you want to move up a guy from the practice squad like a Christian Kirksey, say, for example. We were joined earlier today by Matt Perino. And I think Perino is of the belief that, Dotson had every opportunity to say this job is mine. So where are we at? The Bills right now, this is the problem because you might have to go with Dotson because we're not exactly sure how up to speed Bernard is. We think Bernard health-wise is okay with that hammy, but what we don't expect is Kirksey to be actually activated and much less play. It's going to take some time, but what he said at the end of last week, right heading into the Labor Day holiday, was like, no, I'll get this pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And he's got those relationships,
The relationships are big. I think that's the biggest thing with Kirksey. The idea that you know Poyer from your time in Cleveland, you know Hyde, teammates at Iowa. The two of them will probably hit it off, and they'll get him up to speed quicker than just the average guy that you're bringing in. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the course of the first couple of weeks of the season. Like maybe it is Dotson week 1, maybe it's Bernard week 2, maybe it's Bernard week 1, Bernard week 2, and if there's any sort of failure to perform, you've got Kirksey kind of standing by saying, hey, I still have game.
Well, what this is good is because our veterans like Poyer and Hyde and everybody else where the clock is ticking, we know this. The Bills aren't going to spare the expense there. Okay, look, if we recognize it from the outside that middle linebackers are a problem, guess what they're saying right now?
No, and there's a sense of urgency to win when you're a Kirksey, when you're a Poyer, a Hyde. You know that this is probably your last dance, so you get out there and you do everything that you can. I'm a little concerned about the hamstring that's kept Kirksey out of the preseason.
That too.
So, but you're dealing with the same kind of injury with Bernard as well. So health is a concern. The ability to pick up the defense quickly, I think, is a concern. When do you see Kirksey? If things aren't going well, you probably see him sooner rather than later. I still think he's on the practice squad unless you have to break glass in case of emergency. You're not going to rush to bring him down. Does he give you a better option right away? Not right away. Maybe eventually. Not right away, but maybe eventually. I would say we'll know within the first couple of weeks whether or not you need to break glass in case of emergency at middle linebacker.
We do have some news today from the NFL, and this is not only NFL news. It will impact your fantasy league in some form here, we believe.
Who's the person in our draft tonight that's going to draft Travis Kelce in the first round not knowing about today's news? If you're drafting tonight or tomorrow night, I guarantee you there's somebody in your league who isn't as immersed in this as we all are. If you're listening to this show, you're a fan.
A sales guy named Richard Nightingale. I'm not going to say anything to him. Is that mean?
You can't say anything.
Don't
say anything to anybody, and just watch. Just watch it happen, and it will happen. There'll be guys like, oh, you didn't know that guy was put on IR? You didn't know? Because they'll make adjustments to whatever platform will make adjustments to their rankings, but not to the point where you could hear a name or see a name and be like, oh, that's the guy I want. It's like. I suppose a team could call for Antonio Brown, but I just don't know that he's playing in the NFL this year. But good pick there in the 8th round, real value.
Yeah, no, but I don't know if they are actually adjusting Travis. He'll still be the number 1 tight end, right? Somebody will take him in the first round, not knowing tonight. Yeah, in our league, Duffy would know, Kimmy would know.
You know who has the number 1 overall pick in our draft tonight?
Yeah. Which means he's taking Josh Allen.
Josh Allen is off the board.
Does that not concern everybody? Does that not concern, this is the ultimate test of the master stroke jinx.
And I know a lot of people don't like fantasy football or don't get fantasy football or don't want to hear about fantasy football, but hear us out on this. Master stroke, if you're new to the show, is a guy that used to work with us. Big Bills fan. Huge Bills fan.
Bills can't do anything wrong. Everything is great.
Through the drought, every year through the drought. This good team. I feel really good about it. Like, completely bought into the season of hope, year in and year out. And anything that they did, he viewed it through these rose-colored glasses. Like, oh, this is a great move. I love this move. So we go back to the rookie season of Sean McDermott as a head coach. And Tyrod Taylor is his starting quarterback. It was a game against the Saints at home. You probably remember it. He was putrid. Taylor was terrible. And Nathan Peterman does mop up in the second half. And then the following week, he gets named the starter for a game in San Diego against the Chargers.
This is a masterstroke by McDermott.
Anything more than what Tyrod did last week, I would consider thriving for a Buffalo Bills quarterback.
Then that should be Peterman's stats after the first quarter.
Peterman is going to make mistakes.
He might not make it out of the first half.
I have been waiting since week 1, and I think that Peterman, from everything we've seen in preseason and in the little bit in New Orleans, I think he's the man.
Dom, I'm warning you.
You watch, Gene.
You are crazy. Why can't it be us? Dude, you're going to be so disappointed
I'm not.
Monday.
There is no way I'm going to be disappointed
We should
Monday.
have known then the Peterman Musk was strong. It impacted Masterstroke, Sean McDermott, John Gruden, now Matt Eberflus, and with that, a legend was born. And from time to time, we would invite Masterstroke on to make his predictions on not just the Bills, but on other football games, other massive, events like, I don't know, the Super Bowl between the Rams and the Patriots. Y'all remember this.
I do have faith that Wade Phillips, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, will find a way to take some pieces of Brady's arsenal out of the game. I would be shocked right now if Edelman had a good game in the Super Bowl. I think Phillips is smart enough to take him out, and I don't think he's going to be a factor. The one thing I do like, by the way, and I will say this, I know there's a lot of prop bets on this. I don't know what the number is on Chris Hogan. I just have a gut feeling that he's going to have a big game for the Patriots because they're going to take Edelman out.
To recap that Super Bowl, Julian Edelman was named MVP. Chris Hogan had a stat line of 0 catches for 0 yards.
So it was over the pandemic. He moves to Florida. But we've kind of made it our tradition to bring him on at the beginning of each season just to get his temperature. There's just more. The goal continues, even though he's in a different state.
Yeah. Well, why you should be nervous is that is the man that tonight is picking first overall in our draft. And knowing what we know, Josh Allen will be in control of Masterstroke's fantasy team. If something goes wrong, we're not wishing it on anybody. We don't want it to happen, but we do have somebody we can blame.
If I had to do a Masterstroke power ranking, obviously the OG, the original one, we're like, oh my God, like your love for Peterman. But number 2 on my list.
My first dark horse. He's not really a dark horse. I think he's the favorite.
Yeah. Who can forget when
you take requests, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
My first dark horse, and he's not really a dark horse, I think he's the favorite, is Rory.
That's when we had him pick the Masters. The Masters stroke.
I've got 5 dark horses I want to give everybody. Okay. Yep, Rory. Yep.
Favorites.
Yep.
He's not really a dark horse. He's a favorite. That's our buddy Masterstroke. We'll have somebody to blame if it all goes poorly. We'll set our sights squarely on Masterstroke if it goes badly. Let's get to a round of shots next in the sports bar.
Yeah, going badly. What is it going to take for Jessica Pegula to get over the hump here? What a great weekend this was for college football. Oh, the Sabres have a new ticket policy when it comes to out-of-towners. But is this actually going to work? Well, we can debate that. And also, Shannon Sharp, is he the guy that yells out an ex-girlfriend's name, when he shouldn't? Well, he kind of did that.
Oh, no. He called Stephen A. Skip? Oh, no. Oh, Shannon. Just misguided. All right, we'll get to that with a round of shots next. Tailgating season is here, Gino.
It is. And our good friends at Mad Hatter's Hideaway, that is the place to go to if you want to just get your victory cigar. And, hey, you're drafting your fantasy team. You can either have a cigar each week you win. You can save them for the end of the regular season. is the place Rochester goes to. Voted Rochester's best once again. Mad Hatter's has over 300 varieties of cigars for you to choose from. Fire up that Victory Cigar. 2 locations, Culver Road in Rondequoit and 535 West Ridge Road, MadHattersHideaway.com.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country.
Bills get back to work tomorrow. Now today, news being Ryan Bates and Taron Johnson restructuring their contracts. Those moves clear about $4.5 million against the cap. Dan Orlovsky on what should be a crazy atmosphere Monday.
It'll be the biggest home game for the Jets, certainly in years and maybe, decades. And they're playing against a team that for the last, 3 years has been one of the teams to beat in the conference, that has one of the best quarterbacks in football, that has Super Bowl expectations. That place will be nuts.
Meanwhile, from Chiefs practice today, tight end Travis Kelce leaving with a hyperextended knee, leaving his status in question for Thursday night's opener against the Lions. Rochester Red Wings have released their 2024 schedule. Team opens in Syracuse March 29th. The home opener will be on Tuesday, April the 2nd. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, you're back in the Sports Bar. Happy hour continues. Let's get to a round of shots, Gino.
The last time Duke beat a top 10 program in football, 1989. Well, that was until last night, right? And might have been one of the worst red zone performances ever by Clemson. 4 drives inside the 20, resulting in 0 points, including 2 blocked field goals. Clemson takes a back seat now to Florida State in the ACC. The Seminoles throttling LSU Sunday night.
I'm okay with it. I just think Dabo Swinney is just such a jerk. Like, everything about that guy rubs me the wrong way. There's an arrogance there. And you start to see now, like, it really wasn't you as much as it was your assistants. You had some really, really good players, but you've had now a couple of guys that have left for one reason or the other.
The inability to change. He is the coach that doesn't want to use the portal. I'm going to stick with my guys. That's not how the game's played anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's an arrogance, and it's going to cost him. I'm not going to be a Florida State fan, but I'm okay with Florida State being the bar that everybody tries to reach up to for the ACC in football. I'm okay with that.
It wasn't that long ago Syracuse was better than Florida State, but I don't know if the Orange are ever going to get up to that level. Off the court, Madison Keys and Jessica Pegula are close friends. On the court, different story. It was all business for Keys as she broke Pegula right out of the gate, 6'3", 6'1". Pegula failing to advance to the quarterfinals here. For what it's worth, she's still competing in mixed doubles. She advances to the quarterfinals there with fellow American Austin Krajicek.
Okay.
Here's a name that we're all going to get familiar with in baseball. Ned Balelo. Who is he? He's the agent for Shohei Ohtani. He works for CAA. Balelo has spoken. And as you might expect, he says his client, once healthy, will continue to be a two-way player, implying that he should be paid as such. Balelo did not answer questions directly about the Angels' chances to resign him, or, funny how he wouldn't even address that, or whether he think his client might be, what he might be thinking right now as he enters the last month of his contract.
That surgery, whether or not he has that done, like what does that look like in the offseason here? What procedure does he get done on the sly that makes him, I don't know. I mean, like that makes it fascinating. Just the injury to the UCL and the idea that it's cost him probably hundreds of millions of dollars.
You don't have to have the Tommy John. Like Masahiro Tanaka did this, just like give him the platelet-rich injection there, and that's one way you could manage it, but that could backfire. Then if it doesn't work, well, then you're losing some time here. So, yeah, that's the big question.
But the desire to continue to be a two-way player and be paid as such, like, nobody's questioning that. And shame on us for not seeing this. Like, he's doing something that we haven't seen in generations. Of course, it's going to end with him being worn down or more run down. In a world of analytics and sports, sports medicine, tracking your every movement, everything is tracked.
Here's what I would do to any team that signs him: be like, we're going to pay you as a two-way player, but in 2024, we need that elbow healthy. And then when we get to that, we're actually going to manage the innings because it's not only this year, Danger. You realize, like, Shohei carried Team Japan to World Baseball Classic. He played an extra month in March.
Yeah. I think the first case of this that I remember vividly was Strasburg, right?
Yeah.
What Washington with Strasburg and how they kind of managed through him. And look, eventually they did get the World Series, but I mean, it was always about managing his reps, and he was always on a pitch count. He was always on a limited appearance here, limited appearance there. I don't want that for Shohei, but I'm surprised that we haven't seen it up to this point.
Yeah, there'll be a smart organization, not the Angels here. Have you ever been to a Sabres-Leafs game, Sabres-Montreal game? How about a Sabres-Penguins game even? Don't you feel outnumbered just a little bit? Visiting fans buy up the tickets. Well, there's a new plan. Mike Harrington of the Buffalo News reporting that the Sabres will now place zip code restrictions on purchases directly, which, Danger, in my opinion, in the end, this seems kind of pointless, seeing that Leafs fans will still pay top dollar. So many Sabre fans right now still going to dump their season tickets on the secondary market.
Yeah, I get it. I guess if you're the Sabres, you have to show that you're trying to do something. We all recognize it as an issue. You don't have home ice. The players recognize it as an issue. You don't have home ice on some of these nights when you need it. And you really can't do anything to stop it because fans are going to put it on the secondary market. But this is at least a, hey guys, we're really trying to make things better. I mean, ultimately what will prevent this from happening is just the team being good consistently year in and year out.
Finally, one of our favorite Takesman shows. Let's check in on Shannon Sharp here and how he's debuting with Stephen A. Smith.
Hey, you know what, Skip? It's okay. It's okay. It's been 7 years. Stephen A.
Right, I got Stephen A. Stephen A. is a pro. Like, he's right away. It's okay. I get it. Like, it happens. It happens to the best of us.
So that was Monday. Today, Stephen A. then comes out with a name tag, one of those sticky ones. My name is Stephen A.
So you don't forget. Stephen A. also, by the way, on the front lines of this battle between Disney and Spectrum. I don't know if you saw that. He actually tweeted out support for Disney. Like, this is what we are. This is what we're about. And sorry you missed us, but like, there's so many ways that you can get that programming if you want to. It's crazy to me that you still have these disputes happening now at a time when we have what we've always wanted, which is control of our own choices in terms of what we want to consume and how we want to consume it. If you really miss ESPN that much, you can go find it right now, today. With zero hesitation, you'll have it.
But people like to make decisions on their own timeline. And this was not something they were expecting on Friday night. Right. Let me sit down and watch
college football. Yeah, if you're a Spectrum subscriber, you missed out on week 1 of college football, and it was fantastic. And you're probably going to miss out on Monday Night Football on ESPN. We'll be on ABC. We'll have it here on the Fan for you as well.
But everything else,
That's right. But Stephen A. kind of, expressing a little support. I think he tweeted out something earlier. To anybody that has been reaching out to him saying, hey, where are you? Can't find you. This is why. And business is business. It will continue to be business. And unfortunately, we, the consumer, in this instance, get screwed.
All right, so we got an update on Travis Kelce here. This is courtesy of James Palmer.
Breaking news?
Breaking news.
Ow! It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
This is Palmer on X. I'm told Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce has appeared to avoid a long-term injury after hyperextending his knee in practice today. As it looks right now for his status Thursday, or this being a 1 to 2 week injury, a lot will depend on how the swelling will go down.
The report I think out of that Schefter put out that the ACL is intact, which is good news. So, yeah, it kind of goes alongside what you're saying there, that this isn't going to be any kind of long-term or season-long injury. And let's see. Boy, your fantasy drafts tonight, your fantasy drafts tomorrow night, leading up to Thursday night, going to be interesting.
Well, now it just kind of hits the fast-forward button on the Chiefs' offense, too, right? Can Patrick Mahomes get that synergy going with Sky? Oh, my gosh, I used the marketing word. Develop that rapport with Sky Moore.
No, I think he wants synergy.
Shame on me.
Because right now that offense feels a little siloed. If you're all siloed, you have to get a little synergy going there.
Well, look, we're getting too deep in Louise.
I know, but when you really get granular and look at the game plan, Andy Reid knows what he's doing.
All right, you're the king of marketing phrases. You win.
Corporate buzzwords. Oh, corporate buzzword bingo? Yeah, we've got you covered here on the Sports Bar. Don't worry about it. If you had silo to synergy, we got you covered. All right, let's get the last call next in the Sports Bar. You can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 866-4FAN, award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub in the new location at 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. It's 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN if you want to join us for last call. Next on the Fan Rochester, get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Sportsbook. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
On the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
But I think Detroit, before Chris was ever going to miss this game, I felt Detroit was going to give them hell. And I still feel that way. If their secondary, which is remade in Detroit, can play a little bit better than they did on the back end of last year, Detroit wins this game. But it's hard to bet against Patrick at home.
That's Dan Orlovsky earlier today on One Bills Live talking about that Thursday night kickoff between Kansas City and Detroit, which got a little bit more interesting this afternoon upon hearing the news that Travis Kelce hyperextended his knee in practice today.
How many players in this league, not quarterbacks, other than quarterbacks, could actually move a line? Well, Kelce's on that list. 7 to 6.5, I think it is. I don't know if this is going to change anything, really. I think it's just everybody else is going to sit up a little straight. I'd be more curious to learn, actually, Danger, like, what's going on with Chris Jones? Are we going to actually have this actually go into the season? Like, we've reached the point of no return,
Nobody's
right?
talking about Bosa in San Francisco either.
Right.
Like, you've got Nick Bosa and you've got Chris Jones. You've got, like, very impactful defensive players that have been absent from the entirety of preseason and might miss. I mean, no player wants to miss a game day paycheck, but they might miss a game day paycheck or two.
Well, if you're this is the point of no return, right? Like, he just can't sign tonight and then show up Thursday, right? You would need to get one practice in?
I would think that you would need a little ramp up time, yeah.
It's so.
I think so.
Our buddy Jay Binkley from 610 Sports in Kansas City will be joining us tomorrow.
Oh.
That was not planned. That was
Nemesis of the sports bar.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get a little preview of that Kansas City-Detroit Thursday night kickoff matchup. I mean, it feels like just yesterday we were kind of speculating, like, all right, who's going to open against Kansas City? Could it be the Bills? Like, we thought there was, like, plenty of options there, and it ended up being Detroit, which is, I guess, fine, but I'm just preparing for the letdown. I don't see Detroit showing up and beating Kansas City at Kansas City on Thursday night.
We love Dan Campbell.
Love him. He's good, but he's great for sound, but I'm still going to question whether or not he's a great head coach. Gives us great audio. Love the Dan. I mean, actually, today's news is the worst possible news for the Detroit Lions. I mean, if Kelsey's out with the knee, that's one less kneecap for Campbell to actually enjoy. Hi-oh! He gives great sound, but I'm still not convinced that he's a great head coach. Win something.
Deion Sanders, this is Florio's take. NFL teams looking for a good coach in 2024 should be clamoring for Deion Sanders.
Not going to happen.
No, he can be like the Nick Saban of college football. There's no reason to think that he can't build an empire but those that's only going to get you so far in the pros.
He himself has said, I can't coach professionals. I'm not going to coach professionals. I'm not going to coach in the NFL. I can't do what I do with grown men who are making millions of dollars a season. It won't work. I won't do it. He's said this. So while I don't disagree with what Florio's saying, yeah, on the surface, everybody looks at it like, this would be great. He'd be great if he was an NFL coach. He should be an NFL coach. I don't think he wants to do it, and I don't know that routine will work with grown men, with professionals.
No, and the fact that wherever he goes, it's not going to be a good team, and what you can build quickly in college football. That's the exciting part. The fact that you went, it's basically a 180. Colorado, laughingstock, a joke, one conference win in the least of the Power Fives. Now, all right, you get this impressive non-conference win over a team that went to the national championship, and if you come out of September still undefeated, guess what we're talking about?
In TCU too. That we forget. Yeah. Like that was in at TCU. It'll be fun. I'm not going to, like he's asking, do you believe now? Do you believe now? Like, I believe, but I don't believe you're going to go undefeated. I believe in what you're doing. I believe in the words. I believe in the actions. I believe in the talent that's there and everything that they've done in a short amount of time to get them to where they are. But, man, it's hard for me to envision an undefeated season for the Colorado Buffaloes.
I do believe they're going to take out Nebraska this week.
I agree with that. Yes, I agree with that. I think as soon as that game ended at TCU, they were talking about how they're going to do the same thing. We got Nebraska next. We got those Cornhuskers next. It'll be fun. It was a fun weekend of college football, where college football has all of the shine for the entirety of the weekend. And man, it was there were a lot of great games, just a lot of entertaining games. We'll get some winners in college football coming up on Thursday as well. He gave us Wyoming. I want to say he gave us Fresno State. PJ Glasser was on his game with some upsets last week and some best bets. So the host of BetQL's Send It In will join us Thursday afternoon at 4:25. Tomorrow, you mentioned it. We'll be talking with Jay Binkley from 610 Sports in Kansas City. We'll get a preview of that Thursday night NFL kickoff matchup between the Chiefs and the Lions. We'll also check in with our buddy Alex Brasky from the Batavia Daily News and talk some Buffalo Bills with Brasky.
And play McDermott's McLies tomorrow.
That's correct. You got Zach Gelb next on The Fan Rochester. Thanks for listening.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the